Prof.
Baik, barangkali kita pertama kali saling ketemu, mungkin bisa saling open kamera ya, terutama bagi para mahasiswa baru yang baru bergabung di SIMT ya, di Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi. Saya Nyoman Pujawan, Dekan Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi. Jadi di awal ini sebetulnya sudah jadwal kuliah ya, tanggal 7, tapi kita gunakan untuk acara welcoming bagi semua mahasiswa baru di Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi. Dan nanti juga akan ada kuliah tamu yang akan dibawakan oleh 2 orang tamu kita dari US ya, dari Amerika. Baik, saya ucapkan selamat datang dan selamat bergabung di Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi. Di sini ada beberapa program yang tergabung di dalamnya, ada program S3, ada program S2, MMT, ada juga program studi baru, nanti saya akan jelaskan ya. Baik, izinkan saya share beberapa slide sebagai perkenalan dari Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi ini. Jadi acara kita pada malam ini, saya akan mengawali dengan perkenalan. Setelah itu nanti sekitar 18.30 adalah acara kuliah tamu. 1 jam presentasi, kemudian nanti ada beberapa kesempatan untuk tanya jawab. Mudah-mudahan sekitar jam 9 lebih 10 menit kita sudah selesai ya. Sedikit agak panjang mungkin kalau kita lihat dari awal ya. Baik, saya kira ini adalah kesempatan yang ditunggu-tunggu, sebuah kesempatan yang exciting bagi banyak orang, banyak pihak. Baik kami sebagai pengelola Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi ini, dan juga tentu saja adalah para mahasiswa baru yang baru bergabung di ITS untuk program-program di SIMT. Jadi nama unit kita adalah seperti yang tadi saya sampaikan, adalah Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi. Kita biasa singkat dengan SIMT. Merupakan satu-satunya sekolah yang ada di ITS sederajat atau sama dengan fakultas-fakultas lainnya. Jadi kita di ITS itu ada 7 fakultas sama 1 sekolah. Hanya bedanya yang sekolah ini kita hanya mengelola program-program pasca sarjana. Jadi di sini tidak ada S1 ya. Sebelum ke beberapa hal berikutnya, saya ingin memperkenalkan dulu beberapa pengelola yang ada di Sekolah Interdisiplin ini. Saya sendiri yang paling pojok kiri atas, nama saya tadi saya sudah sampaikan adalah Nyoman Pujawan. Saat ini saya beserta Bapak Ibu yang lain diminta untuk mengelola Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi ini. Nama sekolah ini sebenarnya baru muncul secara resmi di ITS pada tahun 2021 kemarin, karena secara struktur kita berubah beberapa kali. Sehari-hari saya adalah staf pengajar di Departemen Teknik Industri, namun ditugaskan untuk juga berada mengelola maupun mengajar di sekolah ini. Yang kedua adalah Bapak Haryo Dwito Armono, yang saat ini menjadi wakil dekan. Nanti setelah saya memperkenalkan semuanya, saya akan minta Pak Haryo untuk say hello 1-2 menit untuk welcoming Anda semua. Kemudian yang ketiga adalah Pak Jerry Dwi Trijoyo Purnomo, PhD, yang saat ini bertugas sebagai Kepala Program Studi Pasca Sarjana Manajemen Teknologi, yang ada 2, yaitu S2, yaitu MMT, sama S3, Doktor Manajemen Teknologi ada di situ. Selanjutnya ada Pak Dinar, jadi Pak Dinariana Dwi Putranto sebagai Kepala Program Studi Pasca Sarjana, program yang baru berdiri dan baru pertama kali kita launching pada tahun ini adalah Inovasi Sistem dan Teknologi. Sementara masih S2 saja ada di situ. Selanjutnya ada Profesor Rido Bayu Aji sebagai Kepala Program Studi Program Profesi Insinyur, ya, jadi PPI. Selanjutnya ada Ibu Gita Widi Bawika sebagai Sekretaris Program Studi Manajemen Teknologi, akan membantu Pak Jerry nanti karena program manajemen teknologi ini cukup besar, ya, jadi kita butuh 2 orang yang menghandle di situ. Selanjutnya ada Pak Agus Dwi Purwo Lastono sebagai Kepala Bagian Ketatausahaan, ya, yang akan mengepalai semua tim staf kami yang ada di kampus kami di Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi ini. Kemudian yang terakhir adalah Pak Agus Santoso yang mendapat tugas sebagai koordinator program pendidikan bersertifikat. Nah, kalau ini non-gelar tetapi menawarkan program-program pendidikan yang bisa diikuti oleh para praktisi. Baik, nanti saya akan minta Pak Haryo, Pak Jerry, Pak Dinar, sama Pak Rido untuk menyampaikan welcoming message singkat, ya. Dan juga nanti saya akan minta Bu Gita, Pak Agus 1 dan Agus 2 nanti untuk bisa say hello, menyalakan kamera supaya bisa dikenal oleh yang lain. Saya akan stop dulu slide-nya sehingga saya akan hand over ini ke Pak Haryo. Saya persilakan Pak Haryo.
Terima kasih Prof. Nyoman, Bapak Ibu sekalian. Suara saya cukup jelas, ya?
Cukup jelas, Pak.
Terima kasih, Prof. Nyoman. Selamat sore semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sehat, salam sejahtera. Pertama-tama ini terima kasih Prof. Nyoman sudah diberi kesempatan untuk menyapa Bapak Ibu sekalian di sini. Warga baru, ya, warga baru sekolah satu-satunya yang ada di ITS, Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi. Saya mengucapkan selamat datang, selamat bergabung di sekolah kita ini. Jadi kalau ada kepala sekolah, saya ini wakilnya, begitu, ya. Kalau Pak Nyoman, Prof. Nyoman Dekan, saya berarti wakil kepala sekolah. Ya, saya tentunya sangat berbahagia bisa ketemu Bapak Ibu sekalian di sini, meskipun secara virtual, ya. Tapi suatu saat kan ini kita mungkin sudah mulai kondisi semoga semakin membaik sehingga kita bisa nanti bertemu secara real, gitu, ya, di kampus kita di Cokro, ya. Mungkin Bapak Ibu ada yang sudah pernah ke sana, tapi ada juga yang belum. Nah, kita sedang berbenah, sudah ada 4 kelas yang disiapkan dan 2 kelas sudah siap untuk menyambut perkuliahan secara hybrid. Dan tentunya nanti begitu sudah full, kita akan sudah siap untuk menyambut, ya, melaksanakan perkuliahan secara 100% lah di sana. Itu mungkin yang bisa saya sampaikan. Jadi selamat bergabung, selamat datang. Saya sendiri dari Fakultas Teknologi Kelautan, Bapak Ibu sekalian. Jadi bidang saya bidang kelautan, dan saya kalau dari Prof. Nyoman tadi dari Fakultas Teknik Industri, Departemen Teknik Industri, saya dari Departemen Teknik Kelautan. Mungkin itu yang bisa saya sampaikan. Selamat datang, selamat bergabung, dan senang sekali bisa bertemu Bapak Ibu sekalian sore ini. Terima kasih Prof. Nyoman.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Haryo. Ya, kita lanjut ke Pak Jerry sebagai Kepala Program Studi untuk Manajemen Teknologi.
Ya, baik. Terima kasih Prof. Nyoman. Ya. Selamat malam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya, saya ucapkan selamat datang bagi Bapak Ibu mahasiswa baru. Ya, juga mungkin ada mahasiswa lama yang sedang bergabung di sini ya. Juga Bapak Ibu dosen yang kemungkinan juga bergabung pada event pada malam hari ini. Ya, perkenalkan nama saya Jerry Dwi Tusyo Purnomo. Ya, jadi sehari-hari saya adalah staf pengajar di Departemen Statistika ITS dan juga ditugaskan sebagai Kaprodi di Kaprodi Pasca Sarjana Manajemen Teknologi. Jadi di Manajemen Teknologi nanti ada program S2 dan S3 yaitu MNT dan DMT. Ya, nanti saya akan dibantu oleh kita di sana sebagai asesorinya. Ya. Jadi sekali lagi selamat datang. Nanti kalau misalkan Bapak Ibu membutuhkan sesuatu hal yang berkaitan dengan di MMT maupun di DMT, monggo silakan bisa diskusi dengan saya dan tim saya dan tim kita nantinya. Ya, baik, saya kira cukup dari saya, Prof. Nyoman. Terima kasih sekali lagi, Bapak Ibu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih Pak Jerry. Selanjutnya saya persilakan Pak Dinar.
Oke, terima kasih Prof. Nyoman Pujawan atas kesempatan yang diberikan. Selamat malam Bapak dan Ibu-ibu. Selamat datang ya untuk mahasiswa baru di Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi. Sebelumnya perkenalkan nama saya panjang tapi cukup dipanggil Dinar saja. Kadang Bu Dinar juga boleh, karena minggu ini sudah 3 kali sampai 4 kali orang manggil saya Ibu. Nggak masalah. Saya sama dengan Pak Wakil Dekan, Pak Haryo, dari Fakultas Teknologi Kelautan, departemennya yang berbeda, tapi bertetangga gitu ya, di Teknik Sistem Perkapalan. Jadi seperti yang disampaikan juga di perkenalan tadi oleh Prof. Nyoman Pujawan, kalau saya saat ini di-assign sebagai Kepala Prodi Magister Inovasi Sistem dan Teknologi. Sekali lagi selamat datang, selamat bergabung dengan SIMT. Semoga dilancarkan prosesnya selama, jangan lama-lama, maksimal 4 semester. Jadi mudah-mudahan dilancarkan perkuliahannya sampai dengan kelulusan nanti. Demikian yang bisa saya sampaikan, Prof. Nyoman. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Dinar. Selanjutnya saya undang Profesor Ridho Bayu Aji sebagai Kaprodi Program Profesi Insinyur.
Terima kasih Prof. Pujawan. Selamat petang Bapak Ibu semuanya, mahasiswa baru untuk di bawah Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi, khususnya Prodi Program Profesional Insinyur ya. Jadi kami mengucapkan selamat ya, selamat bergabung di ITS, selamat bergabung di PSPPI ITS. Semoga Bapak Ibu yang ada di PSPPI ITS ini bisa menikmati ya kuliah pembuka di semester genap ini, dan mudah-mudahan ini bisa menjadi ide untuk pelaksanaan kegiatan PSPPI. Jadi memang kegiatan PSPPI ini hanya 1 semester program RPL ini, dan mudah-mudahan Bapak Ibu semuanya yang ada di PSPPI dan semua mahasiswa di SIMT ini semuanya mendapat kelancaran ya dalam proses kegiatan pembelajarannya. Demikian. Oh ya, sebelumnya memperkenalkan, jadi saya ini dari Teknik Infrastruktur Sipil di bawah Fakultas Vokasi. Ya, jadi pada periode ini diberi amanah untuk mengkoordinir PSPPI. Jadi kami persilakan Bapak Ibu khususnya di PSPPI kalau ada permasalahan dalam kegiatan boleh menghubungi kami dan para staf. Terima kasih Prof. Bujawan dan Bapak Ibu semuanya.
Baik, terima kasih Prof. Ridho. Jadi untuk para peserta yang ngambil MMT atau MIST itu bisa selama proses pendidikan merangkap ngambil program profesi insinyur, terutama yang latar belakang S1-nya dari ilmu-ilmu teknik gitu ya. Jadi silakan nanti hanya 1 semester, kuliahnya juga hanya sedikit sekali, jadi tidak tiap minggu ya. Jadi nanti bisa dapat insinyur profesional. Baik, nah saya juga mau memperkenalkan ada 3 lagi tim pengelola kami. Yang pertama Ibu Gita, mungkin bisa di highlight juga Bu Gita sebagai ya sekretaris program studi manajemen teknologi, mungkin bisa say hello Bu.
Ya, baik, selamat malam Bapak Ibu sekalian. Perkenalkan saya Gita Widipawika selaku Sekprodi Program Pascasarjana Manajemen dan Teknologi. Saya di sini membantu Pak Jerry dalam pengelolaan manajemen teknologi. Saya adalah staf pengajar di Departemen Manajemen Bisnis, Fakultas Desain Kreatif dan Bisnis Digital. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Gita. Bu Gita juga alumni MMT ya. Kemudian berikutnya ada Pak Agus Dwi sebagai Kepala Bagian Tata Usaha. Perlu dikenal karena nanti kalau ada urusan-urusan terkait dengan administrasi mungkin perlu berhubungan dengan Pak Agus Dwi. Ya, silakan Pak Agus. Belum kelihatan wajahnya. Ya, lanjut dulu ke Pak Agus yang satunya, Pak Agus Agus Santoso. Ya, saya persilakan. Ini yang koordinator program pelatihan. Mungkin say hello. Ya.
Baik, terima kasih Prof. Nyoman. Selamat malam Bapak Ibu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, saya Agus Santoso, Agus 2 di SIMT. Karena di SIMT ada 3 Agus, jadi saya Agus yang kedua. Mungkin dari Bapak Ibu semua juga sudah pernah ada yang menghubungi atau mengkontak saya terkait dengan keinginan untuk mengikuti training, karena di SIMT juga terdapat program non-gelar, yaitu yang menyelenggarakan beberapa program training yang sifatnya interdisiplin. Semoga saja kita bisa bertemu di program training ini. Terima kasih, Prof. Selamat malam.
Ya, Pak Agus Dwi, mungkin bisa say hello. Silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat malam. Yang saya hormati Prof. Nyoman, Pak Aryo, Bapak Ibu-Ibu. Saya Agus Dwi Purwolastono, diberi amanat untuk membantu Prof. Nyoman di SIMT sebagai kepala bagian. Nanti kami support untuk Bapak Ibu, baik kegiatan akademik maupun kegiatan-kegiatan lainnya. Jangan sungkan-sungkan, nanti kalau ada kesulitan, baik akademik, keuangan, atau yang lain, bisa kontak kami dan tim. Begini itu Pak Nyoman, saya Agus yang ketiga ini Pak.
Baik Pak Agus, baik. Baik, ini ya Bapak Ibu tim kami sebagai pengelola. Namun di belakangnya masih banyak ya, masih banyak, cuma tidak akan sempat kami perkenalkan satu persatu. Justru yang di belakangnya itu banyak sekali yang bekerja, termasuk yang menghandle acara ini. Di belakang layar masih ada cukup banyak teman-teman yang lain. Nanti seiring dengan berjalannya waktu, Bapak Ibu akan tahu semua. Baik, terima kasih Pak Aryo, Pak Jerry, Pak Dinar, Pak Ridho, Bu Gita, sama Pak Agus 1 dan 2 ya. Baik, saya lanjutkan ke slide saya yang berikutnya. Nah ini, jadi kalau lihat lengkapnya, ini kemarin berfoto, sekaligus mungkin bagi yang belum pernah lewat di kampus ini kelihatannya sudah mulai sebagian bergabung mahasiswa lama ya. Mahasiswa lama pun kalau yang baru 1 semester atau 2 semester mungkin belum pernah hadir secara fisik ke kampus. Jadi kita base-nya ada di Jalan Cokro Aminoto di pusat kota Surabaya, pisah dengan kampus utama yang ada di Sukolilo yang tentu saja merupakan pusat administrasi. Nah, ini kita punya kampus di sini. Inilah tim lengkapnya dari SIMT yang tentu di belakang yang berdiri semuanya ini ada yang bertugas mengurus administrasi akademik yang nanti akan banyak terkait dengan para mahasiswa, ada yang ngurus ruang baca, ada yang ngurus sekretariat, ada yang ngurus masalah fasilitas dan lain-lain. Baik. Nah, kita punya warna ya. Jadi karena kita tadinya ada di fakultas yang berbeda, nah kita sekarang berdiri sebagai sekolah yang setara dengan fakultas. Kita sudah menentukan warna official dari SIMT adalah biru dengan kode warna 192841, kira-kira seperti ini. Nanti seragam-seragam kita, baju kaos, dan lain sebagainya kita akan sesuaikan seperti ini. Jadi nanti kita akan punya baju seragam, souvenir yang bisa dibeli, ya silakan nanti kontak ke kami. Dan juga tentu saja dengan demikian, maka nanti juga akan menjadi warna warna strip di tesis atau disertasi yang dibuat. Ini kalau bawahnya ini sama biru muda semua, atasnya ini sesuai dengan fakultas. Jadi misalnya fakultas teknologi industri itu kan merah di sini. Nah kita pakai biru navy blue. Nah selanjutnya saya ingin menyampaikan bahwa kita sudah mencoba merumuskan tema-tema pengembangan dan tema yang menjadi pilar kita di SIMT. Kami ketemu ada 5 huruf P, ya, jadi 5 P. Mungkin yang belajar pemasaran tahu ada 4 P. Nah ini beda ya, tapi P-nya. Jadi SIMT itu ingin punya fokus di sini. Yang pertama di tengah-tengah adalah produknya, bahwa produk-produk atau program-program yang kita tawarkan di SIMT adalah program-program yang inovatif, di-drive oleh kebutuhan atau demand-driven, dan sifatnya modular, dalam arti kita bisa dengan cepat melakukan inovasi dengan modifikasi-modifikasi dari desain yang sudah ada. Ini tentu saja ditunjang oleh people. Jadi people dalam hal ini adalah baik itu dosen maupun pengelola, staf administrasi, dan lain sebagainya yang punya kompetensi dan berorientasi pada layanan, service oriented. Nah, ini tentu akan menunjang proses yang di kanan atas, sehingga kita ingin bahwa proses yang terjadi di SIMT sejak masa pendaftaran sampai nanti lulus wisuda, bahkan sampai menjadi alumni, adalah proses yang memberikan student experience yang positif. Ya. Kemudian ada place, adalah tempat di mana kita semua bekerja dan Anda semua sebagai mahasiswa di situ belajar, sehingga kita ingin punya conducive working and learning environment. Dan yang terakhir adalah partner, karena kita sangat yakin bahwa kemajuan di bidang apapun kita membutuhkan network atau partnership dengan pihak-pihak di dalam maupun di luar. Jadi kita punya keinginan untuk strong di partnership juga. Nah, itu kira-kira yang menjadi tema-tema pengembangan kami di SIMT. Nah, selanjutnya saya akan menjelaskan sedikit mengenai program-program yang ada. Jadi sebagaimana yang tadi sudah sempat saya sampaikan sedikit, kita punya program Doktor Manajemen Teknologi yang baru berlangsung selama 3 semester, jadi sekarang masuk semester keempat, dan berarti kita menerima untuk yang keempat kalinya. Jadi Bapak Ibu, para peserta program doktor yang baru bergabung pada saat ini adalah angkatan yang keempat. di mana di angkatan keempat ini kita in total sudah punya mahasiswa sebanyak 58 orang. Jadi sangat tinggi minat untuk masuk ke sini, ya. Kemudian yang klasik yang memang sudah sejak lama adalah program Magister Manajemen Teknologi, sekaligus ini adalah program yang paling besar dan sudah berusia 25 tahun. Dan di sini kita sudah punya lebih dari 2.300 alumni, dan banyak di antara alumni-alumni kita yang sudah punya posisi-posisi yang sangat strategis di berbagai bidang pekerjaan. Nah, yang baru tadi adalah program Magister Inovasi Sistem dan Teknologi, yang baru pertama kali kita menerima mahasiswa. Jadi Anda yang tergabung di dalam program studi ini adalah pionir, jadi angkatan pertama. Anda semua membuat sejarah sebagai mahasiswa angkatan pertama yang saya welcome, yang kami welcome di acara pada malam ini dari program Magister Inovasi Sistem dan Teknologi. Kemudian ada program profesi insinyur seperti tadi yang kami sampaikan. Program profesi insinyur ini sudah beroperasi beberapa tahun dan baru pertama kali bergabung di Sekolah Interdisiplin Manajemen dan Teknologi. Dan yang terakhir adalah program pendidikan bersertifikasi yang baru pertama kali juga kita launching. Nah, program yang memang sudah cukup lama, yang Magister Manajemen Teknologi ini adalah sebuah program studi, dan kita punya 7 bidang keahlian atau bidang konsentrasi yang aktif pada saat ini. Yang pertama adalah manajemen industri, pasti banyak di sini yang ikut program ini, dan ini paling banyak pesertanya, ya. Kemudian manajemen project, juga pesertanya cukup banyak. Kemudian manajemen teknologi informasi, dan ini yang relatif baru-baru adalah analitika bisnis atau business analytics, kemudian supply chain management, ada innovation design management, dan ini juga baru, jadi angkatan pertama adalah teknomarketing yang sekarang ada juga di grup yang kita welcome pada malam hari ini. Ya, selamat bergabung. Dan ini yang teknomarketing ini adalah hasil kolaborasi antara SIMT dengan Plus Institute, ya. Jadi Pak Hermawan Kertajaya nanti akan menjadi salah satu pengajar di program ini. Nah, untuk Magister Inovasi Sistem dan Teknologi, ini program baru yang tadi saya sampaikan. Kita menawarkan beberapa bidang keahlian, tetapi yang jalan pada semester ini adalah renewable energy, ya, energi berkelanjutan, ya, yang energi terbarukan, maksud saya energi terbarukan, dan yang cukup populer adalah teknologi startup. Nah, teknologi startup ini juga kerjasama dengan IDS College, tetapi IDS College ini sebenarnya disupport oleh banyak startup yang ada di belakangnya. Dan kita bekerja sama dengan IDS College, dengan dukungan dari Ideosource namanya, sebuah perusahaan venture capital yang berinvestasi secara sukses di banyak perusahaan seperti bineka.com, kemudian e-fishery dan sebagainya, yang merupakan perusahaan-perusahaan yang cukup besar di dunia bisnis online. Nah, jadi kita ke depan akan banyak sekali punya mahasiswa-mahasiswa di bidang-bidang yang baru ini, dan tentunya akan memberikan warna yang cukup berbeda nantinya di program-program yang ada di SIMT. Nah, kemudian saya perlu sampaikan ke Anda semua, terutama yang ambil program S2, ya. Tadi saya katakan bahwa program-program kita dirancang menggunakan model yang dinamakan dengan modular design. Nah, modular design itu artinya sebetulnya kita punya fondasi yang sama. Sebagai contoh, ini saya ambil di yang MMT. Yang inovasi sistem dan teknologi sangat mirip seperti ini strukturnya. Saya hanya ingin menyampaikan bahwa karena ini akan menjadi dasar bagi Anda semua nanti di dalam memahami apa perbedaan dan persamaan antara program yang Anda ambil dengan yang teman-teman dari bidang keahlian yang lain. Sebagai contoh, program S2, baik MMT maupun MIST, Anda diwajibkan untuk mengambil minimum 36 SKS. Ya. Jadi 36 SKS itu termasuk nanti kuliah-kuliah fondasi, ada kuliah-kuliah manajemen fungsional, ini untuk yang MMT yang saya jelaskan ya. Kuliah-kuliah manajemen fungsional itu ada 17%, kuliah-kuliah yang terkait dengan manajemen teknologi core-nya ada 19%, dan nanti yang 31% ini yang akan berbeda antara satu bidang keahlian dengan bidang keahlian yang lain. Sebagai contoh, kalau Anda mengambil manajemen industri, maka di sini ada 5 mata kuliah yang fokus di bidang keahlian manajemen industri. Kalau Anda ngambil manajemen project, maka di sini ada 5 mata kuliah yang terkait dengan manajemen project. Nah, di luar itu kemudian Anda harus membuat namanya proposal tesis dengan bobot 2 SKS dan tesis dengan bobot 6 SKS sebagai syarat bagi Anda untuk lulus. Yang manajemen inovasi sistem dan teknologi juga seperti ini strukturnya, hanya isinya yang berbeda. Tetapi sifatnya modular juga. Jadi misalnya antara satu bidang keahlian dengan bidang keahlian yang lain, hanya ada 31% yang berbeda. Nah, itu karena apa? Artinya nanti di dalam perkuliahan, Anda akan banyak ketemu teman-teman dari bidang keahlian lain untuk kuliah-kuliah yang kiri sama bawah. Ya, jadi misalnya ngambil kuliah manajemen keuangan, Anda bisa gabung dengan bidang-bidang keahlian yang lain. Dan itu bagus karena memang seperti yang 5P yang saya sampaikan tadi, kita mendorong supaya ada networking yang bagus antara bukan hanya antara pengelola dengan perusahaan-perusahaan, tapi juga antara satu mahasiswa dengan mahasiswa yang lain. Nah, di luar itu tadi saya sempat sampaikan bahwa kita juga menawarkan program-program pelatihan atau kita sebut sebagai pendidikan bersertifikat yang ini sifatnya non-gelar, dan ini tentu saja bisa diambil paralel pada saat Anda mengambil kuliah. Nah, sebagai contoh kita punya design thinking, project management, bahkan kita sedang memikirkan bagaimana supaya misalnya apabila ada yang mengambil advanced training in project management itu sekaligus menjadi substitusi sehingga Anda tidak perlu lagi mengambil kuliah manajemen proyek misalnya. Nanti kita akan rancang seperti itu. Nah, kita di dalam menunjang network kita dengan mitra, dengan partner, salah satu wujudnya adalah dengan mengundang banyak sekali dosen-dosen tamu, baik dari praktisi maupun dari akademisi di dalam maupun di luar negeri. Nah, ini hanya sebagian saja, karena misalnya semester lalu kita mengundang cukup banyak, kebetulan dengan pandemi COVID-19 ini, di satu sisi mungkin kita banyak kesulitan, tetapi dalam hal penyelenggaraan kuliah-kuliah jarak jauh dengan menghadirkan pembicara-pembicara tamu dari luar negeri, kita menjadi jauh lebih gampang. Dan sebagaimana yang saya sampaikan tadi, sebenarnya di SIMT ini yang mengajar nanti bukan hanya dosen-dosen ITS. Banyak sekali dosen-dosen dari luar ITS yang kita libatkan di dalam proses belajar mengajar nantinya. Nah, saya akan memberikan sedikit gambaran tentang bagaimana berkuliah atau bagaimana kita semua berada di SIMT ini, terutama bagi para mahasiswa baru. Bagi mahasiswa yang lama, mungkin ini dianggap saja sebagai refreshing ya, karena banyak juga mahasiswa-mahasiswa lama yang lupa, walaupun sudah pernah kami sampaikan, tapi banyak sekali yang lupa tentang beberapa hal yang sebetulnya sangat penting bagi mahasiswa-mahasiswa di SIMT ini. Kalau ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan, silakan bisa ditulis. Mungkin nanti Bapak-Bapak dan Ibu Kaprodi, Sekprodi, mungkin akan bisa membantu untuk menjawab lewat chat, karena mungkin tidak semua bisa kita bahas secara langsung dengan secara oral. Nanti mungkin bisa dijawab oleh Bapak Ibu Kaprodi dan Sekprodi, bisa ditanyakan di chat. Nah, Apa yang baru tentu saja bagi Anda yang berkuliah di SIMT ini, jadi SIMT ini adalah sekolah. Sekolah itu by definition hanya memiliki program-program pasca sarjana. Jadi kita tidak memiliki program S1. Nah, yang unik adalah terutama di mahasiswa SIMT ini untuk MMT maupun MIST, termasuk yang S3, termasuk juga yang PPI adalah background mahasiswanya berbeda-beda. Di MMT misalnya ada yang dari teknik mesin, teknik elektro, ada yang dari MIPA juga ada atau kuliah bidang-bidang sains, bahkan ada yang dari ilmu-ilmu sosial, dari manajemen, bahkan ada juga yang dari kedokteran saya lihat pernah ada yang lulus. Bahkan kita sudah pernah meluluskan yang background-nya dari sastra maupun dari psikologi. Jadi sangat beragam, bukan hanya dari bidang ilmu ketika mereka berada di S1, tetapi juga mereka berbeda-beda dari usia, ada yang sudah cukup mature dari sisi usia, sudah berpengalaman lama, bahkan mungkin sudah jadi direktur, bahkan jadi komisaris, saya lihat juga ada di berbagai perusahaan. Ada juga yang fresh graduate untuk yang di S2, ya, yang di S2 ada yang fresh graduate. Nah, kombinasi ini sangat bagus. Saya melihat ini adalah sebuah kekayaan yang luar biasa. Jadi pada saat kita mengajar di kelas, kita melihat kombinasi ini sebagai sebuah power yang bagus karena ada mahasiswa fresh graduate yang energinya luar biasa dan rajin. Kalau nanti buat tugas, biasanya mereka akan membantu untuk menjadi notulen dan lain sebagainya kalau kerja kelompok. Dan yang sudah berpengalaman lama tentu memiliki experience dan mungkin punya insight dan punya network yang bagus. Ketika misalnya ada kerja kelompok, maka kalau itu digabungkan hasilnya akan sangat bagus, ya. Nah, silakan itu dinikmati, ya. Jadi sebagai bagian dari networking yang sangat bagus nanti di dalam kelas. Kebanyakan mahasiswa sudah bekerja, ya. Memang sih kalau secara background keilmuan mayoritas yang ambil kuliah-kuliah di SIMT ini dari latar belakang keilmuan teknik, ya. Tetapi itu tidak berarti yang dari non teknik tidak bisa masuk dan tidak bisa sukses. Sudah banyak sekali success story dari berbagai bidang latar belakang keilmuan. Nah, kemudian kuliahnya malam dan atau akhir pekan. Ini tentu saja adalah sebuah tantangan yang baru. Dan saya selalu katakan ketika Anda sudah memutuskan untuk sekolah ke sini, berarti Anda punya energi tambahan. Energi lebih, punya keinginan yang lebih, ketimbang hanya mungkin menghabiskan malam hari atau weekend Anda di rumah, gitu ya. Jadi ini adalah sebuah investasi dan investasi ini tentu butuh effort yang lebih dari sekedar biasanya. Jangan tanggung, begitu Anda memutuskan untuk sekolah di sini, itu artinya Anda siap untuk melalui berbagai macam tantangan yang mungkin tidak mudah. Karena sekarang mungkin banyak yang bisa kita lakukan online, tapi tentu saja kita juga ingin ada kuliah-kuliah yang bisa dilakukan secara offline atau hybrid, sehingga saya tidak mau ada banyak yang mungkin keberatan untuk sesekali datang ke kampus untuk ikut kuliah offline, karena menurut saya Anda ke sini bukan hanya mencari ilmu, tapi juga cari teman. Bayangkan kalau lulus nggak pernah ketemu teman-teman sekelas. Saya kira itu kurang afdol lah, ya. Kurang sip rasanya kalau lulus enggak punya teman yang berakrab-akrab membuat tugas, ikut makan malam pada saat sebelum kuliah dan lain sebagainya, ya. Dan kebanyakan dosen, bukan kebanyakan, semua dosen yang mengajar di SIMT ini sebetulnya kita tarik dari jurusan-jurusan atau dari departemen yang lain atau dari praktisi. Nah, itu yang berbeda barangkali. Situasinya cukup berbeda dengan ketika misalnya Anda mengambil program S1 ketika mengambil program terdahulu, ya. Nah, namun demikian, saya ingin menyampaikan, barangkali ini sudah disampaikan ketika IPITS di pusat ya, di IPITS sudah pernah disampaikan beberapa hari yang lalu, ya minggu lalu ada program IPITS, mudah-mudahan semuanya ikut. Dan di IPITS itu dijelaskan mengenai aturan-aturan akademik yang tentu saja sangat penting. Nah, silakan aturan akademik itu nanti Anda download, dipelajari dengan baik. Sebagai contoh di situ dijelaskan misalnya aturan tentang absen, aturan tentang cuti, Anda boleh cuti ya, tetapi biasanya itu setelah 2 semester selesai. Kalau misalnya tiba-tiba ada masalah dan Anda terpaksa harus cuti, itu dimungkinkan. Tetapi on top dari semua itu, saya ingin menyampaikan bahwa kita adalah program yang serius, ya. Kita adalah program yang serius. Semua program-program kita di ITS ini adalah program-program yang memang ditujukan kepada mereka yang siap untuk belajar dan bekerja dengan baik. Ya, yang pertama, saya ingin tekankan, integritas adalah hal yang luar biasa pentingnya, di mana ini akan kita cerminkan juga di dalam proses belajar mengajar, di dalam proses evaluasi, di mana kita tidak mentoleransi kalau misalnya ada yang menjiplak jawaban, melakukan plagiarisme pada saat membuat tesis. Nah, itu bisa berakibat cukup fatal kalau Anda melakukan itu. Jiplak tesisnya orang diganti sedikit-sedikit atau diterjemahkan dari bahasa Inggris ke bahasa Indonesia, diubah sedikit-sedikit, itu fatal sekali dan Anda bisa berakibat disuruh ngulang bukan hanya tesisnya, tetapi juga beberapa proses yang lain. Kalau ada yang ketahuan misalnya, kalau ini adalah closed book, tetapi ada yang kerjasama, nyontek, jawabannya sama-sama salah lagi gitu ya, dosen itu ahli sekali untuk mengidentifikasikan kalau ada pelanggaran. Sangat mudah untuk mengidentifikasikan. Itu bisa menyebabkan 1 semester semua kuliah-kuliah yang Anda ambil diberikan nilai E semua. Nah, itu mohon diperhatikan. Walaupun ini misalnya kuliah sebagian masih berlangsung secara online, tapi integritas ini adalah kunci. Integritas itu artinya kita mengerjakan secara jujur dan benar, walaupun tidak diawasi oleh orang lain. Ya, itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, saya ingin sampaikan, kedisiplinan tentu hal yang sangat penting. Banyak sekali yang di sini adalah orang-orang yang sudah sukses dalam bekerja, sudah lama berkarir, dan pasti Anda paham bahwa mereka-mereka yang punya kedisiplinan tinggi, punya chance untuk sukses lebih tinggi ketimbang yang sebaliknya. Maka di sini kita juga menerapkan kedisiplinan itu pada saat kuliah, datanglah tepat waktu, ngumpul tugas tepat waktu, bukan kemudian setelah terlambat Anda berkali-kali kontak dosennya untuk minta keringanan. Jadi kita tidak inginkan seperti itu. Silakan Anda pegang ini kedisiplinan, termasuk tata cara dan tata krama pada saat kuliah. Ini mohon untuk diperhatikan. Misalnya pada saat online, apalagi pada saat misalnya kita diskusi, maka wajib Anda untuk menyalakan kamera. Karena ini juga membantu Anda semua, karena kalau sudah lama mungkin hanya lihat namanya saja di Zoom, tentu kita ingin sebenarnya untuk lihat atau bertemu, setidaknya sebelum sempat ketemu, kita sudah tahu wajahnya masing-masing. Begitu ya. Dan yang terakhir adalah quality, work beyond expectation, yang artinya apa? Banyak sekali mahasiswa-mahasiswa yang sebenarnya dikasih tugas, yang sebenarnya mungkin ngerjakan 2 cukup, tapi dia berupaya lebih. Nah, inilah yang biasanya merupakan sumber-sumber kesuksesan, karena artinya dia ingin mengerjakan secara sempurna, secara baik, melebihi dari ekspektasi dosennya. Nah, kita sangat berharap budaya seperti itu juga ada di SIMT. Baik, nah beberapa hal yang kritis yang juga perlu saya sampaikan. Ya, yang pertama, Anda semua harus pegang kalender akademik. Silakan download. Search saja di Google kalender akademik ITS. Gampang sekali, pasti ketemu. Wajib bagi Anda untuk tahu kapan mulai kuliah. Ya, kapan minggu ke-16, di mana itu adalah minggu terakhir. Kapan waktunya Anda mengisi kuesioner proses pembelajaran. Ini banyak sekali yang tidak tahu bahwa nanti di akhir masa studi, Anda biasanya diminta untuk mengisi kuesioner mengenai dosen di masing-masing mata kuliah. Itu wajib diisi, karena kalau tidak diisi, maka Anda tidak bisa melihat nilai ketika nilai itu sudah diumumkan. Nah, sayang sekali kalau nilainya Anda tidak bisa lihat. Maka kalender akademik ini adalah kalender sakti untuk semua mahasiswa ITS. Dan saya ingin sampaikan di SIMT ini banyak mahasiswa karena sibuk, karena bekerja, tidak saling ketemu dengan yang lainnya, yang lupa misalnya waktunya bayar SPP. Nah, kelewatan waktu bayar SPP-nya, lupa perwalian, ya, lupa perwalian. Jadi tidak mengisi FRS. FRS itu adalah form rencana studi, semester depan ngambil apa, semester depan yang ngambil apa, dan lain sebagainya. Nah, itu tolong difahami semua, karena kami akan sulit untuk mengingatkan satu persatu, karena mahasiswa kami di SIMT ini banyak sekali. Yang MMT saja ini sudah di atas 900 jumlah mahasiswanya. Ya. Jadwal kuliah itu biasanya kita pasang di webnya SIMT, tapi untuk sementara ini masih transisi dari webnya MMT. Itu ada di bagian bawah, saya tuliskan di situ website address-nya. Ya. Perwalian, jangan lupa itu ada waktunya perwalian. Kenalilah siapa dosen walinya, walaupun mungkin dosen walinya tidak mengajak Anda untuk ketemu fisik maupun online pada saat perwalian, mungkin Anda bisa bersama-sama. Saya sangat hargai, saya beberapa kali ada mahasiswa itu minta, Pak, mungkin kita bisa Zoom ya, saya akan kumpulkan teman-teman yang mau perwalian sekalian kenalan. Ya, that's very good ya. Saya sangat value itu, karena kadang-kadang kita yang kita urusi banyak gitu ya. Kalau di sini satu orang itu mahasiswa walinya bisa sangat banyak ya, sehingga tidak semua mungkin bisa ditemui secara person to person seperti itu. Nah, kuliah online. Nah, jadi semester ini sebenarnya kalau ITS itu per hari ini tanggal 7 itu sudah kuliahnya berlangsung secara hybrid ya. Kita di SIMT mungkin sedikit lebih rileks sedikit, dalam arti mungkin masih ada cukup banyak kuliah-kuliah yang berlangsung online, terutama karena kita punya program PJJ juga. Ya, sedangkan yang mahasiswa-mahasiswa S1 yang reguler tadi pagi itu sudah rata-rata sudah kuliah secara offline, sebagian ikut secara online, jadi kita sudah melakukan perkuliahan secara hybrid. Nah, hadirlah tepat waktu pada saat kuliah, online maupun offline. Kalau Anda sedang kelasnya online, seperti saya katakan tadi, open kamera, aktif pada saat diskusi, karena program di SIMT ini kita sangat berharap bukan one way pada saat perkuliahan, tetapi banyak sekali ada proses timbal balik ya. Karena belajar untuk mahasiswa yang sudah mature, sebenarnya Anda bukan hanya belajar dari dosen. Dosen itu seringkali di kelas hanya menjadi fasilitator. Anda akan banyak belajar dari teman-teman yang lain, karena yang lain itu adalah sumber pengetahuan dan pengalaman juga. Nah, jadi gunakan network dengan baik, kenali dengan baik siapa teman-temannya, berdiskusilah dengan baik pada saat diberikan kesempatan untuk berdiskusi, karena diskusi itu dengan sendirinya akan membantu Anda sebetulnya untuk memahami lebih detail dari apa yang sedang diajarkan oleh dosen, ketimbang hanya mendengarkan secara pasif. Ya. Nah, tentu setelah ini saya yakin akan banyak sekali pertanyaan tentang kuliah hybrid atau kuliah online dan offline. Nanti silakan mungkin ini Bapak-bapak Kaprodi yang bisa memberikan penjelasan lebih detail, walaupun mungkin tidak malam ini, mungkin di kesempatan yang lain. Nah, kelas-kelas kita sudah kita rancang untuk bisa diikuti secara hybrid. Hybrid dalam arti dosen bisa di kelas, mahasiswa sebagian di kelas, sebagian juga dari luar. Nah, kita memprioritaskan untuk mahasiswa yang domisili di sekitar Surabaya, Sidoarjo, mungkin sekitaran Gresik, itu yang kita harapkan untuk bisa hadir. Mungkin tidak harus setiap kuliah, jadi kita akan coba rancang sedemikian rupa supaya masih agak ringan untuk bisa mengikuti kuliah secara offline sekali-sekali, karena seperti yang saya katakan tadi, itu value-nya sebetulnya invaluable. Ya, jadi artinya tidak ternilai harganya kalau Anda bisa ketemu teman-teman baru, kemudian bisa berkenalan, yang fresh graduate mungkin bisa dapat tempat magang, kemudian yang berpengalaman mungkin bisa merekrut teman-teman yang sangat talented dan lain sebagainya. Nah, sebagai informasi, ini yang hadir secara offline, Anda tidak perlu susah-susah bawa bekal karena biasanya kita sediakan makan malam, walaupun mungkin kita harus atur sedemikian rupa supaya proses makan malamnya bisa berlangsung dengan aman begitu ya. Atau makan siang kalau itu hari Sabtu. Nah, untuk informasi-informasi lain, jangan lupa Anda selalu tune in dengan sosial medianya SIMT, karena kita punya tim sosial media yang cukup aktif, jadi Instagramnya sangat aktif, maupun juga saluran-saluran yang lain, terutama websitenya juga itu wajib Anda kunjungi. Silakan untuk sementara mungkin yang pertama Anda bisa connect dengan Instagramnya dengan address yang seperti ini. Mungkin teman-teman dari Mas Asis, Mbak Lita bisa kopikan di chat ya, di chat link dari sosial media kita sehingga para mahasiswa baru mungkin bisa dengan mudah bisa mengikuti dari link yang ada di sini. Itu saya rasa mungkin yang perlu saya sampaikan karena waktunya juga tidak terlalu panjang. Setidaknya kami ingin menyampaikan beberapa informasi-informasi kunci. Walaupun dalam kenyataannya sebetulnya kita punya banyak sekali informasi yang perlu disampaikan, dan umumnya yang terjadi adalah saya ingin highlight sekali lagi, banyak mahasiswa-mahasiswa kita yang terlewat informasi-informasi yang penting. Ini saya kira saya perlu tekankan bahwa sebenarnya di setiap angkatan, bahkan di setiap kelas itu ada grup-grup WA misalnya yang dibuat, ya, sehingga silakan gunakan itu sebagai media untuk mendapatkan informasi. Jangan suka kelewat informasinya, ya. Jadi kalau misalnya ada informasi-informasi yang disampaikan, salah satu karakter dari mahasiswa yang umumnya bisa sukses dengan baik adalah kalau mereka alert dengan informasi. Yang suka ketinggalan informasi, kadang-kadang waktunya ngumpul tugas dia lupa, waktunya bayar SPP juga akhirnya kelewatan, ya ada informasi penting dari dosen juga kelewatan dan lain-lain. Jadi upayakan untuk tidak seperti itu, ya. Nah, silakan Anda aktif mengikuti sosial media, grup-grup WA dan lain sebagainya, dan jangan terlalu resisten kalau nanti kita jadwalkan untuk pertemuan offline sekali-sekali, karena itu memang merupakan bagian dari program dan memang merupakan kewajiban dari mahasiswa untuk sesekali hadir di kampus secara fisik. Itu saya rasa yang bisa saya sampaikan. Seperti saya katakan tadi, kalau ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan Anda bisa tulis di chat, nanti tim kami akan membantu untuk menjawab, ya, membantu untuk menjawab, ya. Ada beberapa yang sudah nulis di chat saya lihat yang mungkin ada informasi-informasi yang berguna seperti itu, ya. Baik. Nah, malam ini nanti kita akan lanjut dengan dengan kuliah tamu dari dua orang tamu kita. Yang pertama adalah Raj Mishra yang sekarang menjadi Global Lifecycle Senior Manager di Moderna di US. Jadi ini sangat menarik ya, karena ya tentu saja vaksin menjadi hot product sekarang ini begitu ya. Jadi dan beliau memang menangani pengembangan sampai launching dari produknya. Jadi silakan nanti Anda bertanya yang banyak. Biasanya setiap kami mengadakan kuliah-kuliah umum seperti ini, jumlah pertanyaan di chat itu sampai nggak kehitung ya. Silakan Anda berlomba-lomba, tunjukkan bahwa Anda adalah orang-orang aktif ya. Belajar di program magister manajemen atau magister inovasi itu beda dengan S1. Kalau S1 Anda bisa duduk diam menyerap, di sini tidak. Anda sangat diharapkan untuk aktif bertanya, menyampaikan pendapat dan lain sebagainya. Ya, yang kedua juga adalah seorang senior continuous improvement engineer dari sebuah perusahaan supply chain di US. Nah, saya perlu cek dulu apakah tamu kita ini sudah hadir. Mungkin sebelum itu kita akan break dulu, barangkali sekitar 2-3 menit, ya 2-3 menit, sambil barangkali Anda bisa mungkin mengatur posisi, ambil minum, dan lain sebagainya. Dan pastikan kamera buka biar teman-teman juga bisa melihat wajah Anda semua, ya terutama untuk yang mahasiswa baru. Saya lihat masih 50-50 nih, ya banyak yang hiding face di belakang kamera yang tertutup begitu ya. Nah, biasakan, karena saya tahu di banyak perusahaan kalau saya ikut meeting-meeting semuanya hanya lihat kelihatan namanya saja, tidak kelihatan wajahnya sama sekali. Kita culture-nya di SIMT tidak seperti itu. Kalau Anda mau ngomong, tunjukkan wajah. Ya, pada saat kita diskusi, semua tunjukkan wajah. Pada saat dosennya share slide, boleh ya. Atau juga yang lain tidak bisa melihat. Pada saat seperti sekarang ini sebenarnya yang dilihatkan PowerPoint saya begitu ya. Nah, jadi pada saat dosennya share slide, fine, silakan tutup kameranya. Tetapi pada saat diskusi di kelas nanti, dosen-dosennya sangat berharap wajah Anda kelihatan. Pada saat diskusi juga semuanya bisa melihat satu sama lain. Demikian saya rasa. Kelihatannya belum ya, belum masuk. Apakah ada yang tahu? Mungkin. Oke. Ya, yang satu kelihatannya sudah ada. Ya, saya kira itu sementara. Saya sekarang mau checking. Satu adalah I'm checking Raj Kumar, are you already here? Or Mohit, Mr. Mohit? Yeah, Mohit, I saw your name is already here. Ya, sambil nunggu mungkin boleh break beberapa, kita masih punya sekitar 2 menit ya.
I think both speakers are already here, Prof. Nyaman.
Oh,
Mr. Raj
okay.
also.
Oh, okay. Right. Raj Kumar, are you here?
Yes. Good afternoon, good evening, Professor Newman.
All right. Yeah, good morning to you. So thank you very much for coming to our first lecture in this semester. So what time is in your place right now? You are still muted, I think.
Raj, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Now we can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, it is 7:30 for me and 6:30 for Mohit. So I'm in
All
Eastern
right,
time
okay,
zone.
7:30,
So,
so 12 hours behind us. We are 7:30 in the evening here. Okay.
I think Mohit is much more behind us, 1 more hours, and he's
okay,
6:30.
6:30, right? So it's still very early in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, Mohit, good morning. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can. Hello.
All right. Okay. Good
Good
morning.
to see you, Professor. Yes, good morning to me, and good evening to you guys.
Thank you very much for both of you. So we are so happy to have both of you in this welcoming lecture. So as I mentioned to you earlier, this is a lecture, the first lecture in the new semester. And we have here more than 200 new students and also many senior students. So as you can see in total, there are around 650 students joining. So this is a really big audience. Most of them are actually working professionals. So we are offering master degree in the area of industrial management, project management. We have innovation design management, supply chain, business analytics, renewable energy. And we also have maybe around, almost 50 doctoral students as well. So I think we are very much looking forward to your talk. So I think we already let the audience know that both of you are having a background in industrial engineering, as well as currently working in pharmaceutical industry for Raj and in supply chain industry or logistic industry for Mohit. Shall we start with Raj first, maybe around 30 minutes, and after that I will hand it over to Mohit. So it is up to you. How would you organize your talk? If you have a PowerPoint, I think you can share your PowerPoint. Of course, you can start by introducing more about yourself in addition to what I have already mentioned. Okay, time to you, Raj.
All right, thank you, Professor Newman. Mohit, do you want to present your screen real quick?
Yes, Raj, just one moment and I should go ahead and present my screen. So what I'm going to do is I have my presentation as well as Raj's presentation with me. So I'll go ahead and present both of us.
All right.
We'll start with Raj's presentation and then we'll move on to mine, okay?
Yes, perfect.
All right, it looks like it's exciting to have such a great audience, big list of audience. So today's session is going to be fun and quite interactive. So guys, feel free to ask questions, and I'm sure we have a Q&A session at the end of the meeting, and then we would be happy to answer any question. If there's something that we would not know, that we can certainly follow up on that, and would be happy to provide you any inputs that we might be able to get for you guys.
Absolutely. Raj,
are you presenting a screen?
Yes, I am.
I'm not seeing the slides yet, so maybe
Okay.
you're presenting the other screen.
Let me try it again.
Yeah.
All right, let me know.
Yes,
I think that's correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. So with that, firstly, thank you, Professor Newman, for this great introduction that you already gave to students and such a warm welcome. I really appreciate this opportunity. It's an honor to be part of guest speaker panelist at your esteemed university and with such a large group of students. And I'm sure everyone is coming from, as you said, they're coming from the working sector, they're working, doing doctorate. So it's really a great opportunity to share our experience about the latest industry trends. And with this, I would like to say good evening, students. I hope you all had a good day so far and excited for this session. Today, as Professor mentioned, we would be talking about a very interesting topic, serving disruption through innovations. We will be discussing how disruption is impacting business and how technological innovation is helping business to thrive out of these disruptions. I'm sure you guys must have heard about disruption since the onset of pandemic in supply chain, manufacturing, be it any industry. So disruption is happening everywhere. So in today's session, we would be covering about it. I would be talking about pharma industry, how what are the disruptions happening, and what are the some of the 10 trends or technological trends that would be coming in next 5 to 10 years. And Mohit would be covering about supply chain logistics. He definitely has some good insights in terms of some of the things that he is implementing now. But before we jump on to the actual topic, I would like to quickly provide a quick introduction about myself. My name is Raj Mishra. I am an engineer by academics, but I'm very passionate about supply chain, technology, and trends. My educational background is I'm an electronics engineer, MBA in operations management, MS in industrial engineering. So as you see, I always keep on upgrading myself, and strong believer of that we should always keep the students inside us alive to keep us upgraded with latest technologies trends. So that's why I keep on adding a lot of educational background, like whenever I get a chance, and I do not miss any opportunity to do any certifications or anything that will help me upgrade my skills and keep me up to the mark in the market. Talking about my professional work experience, I have had the opportunity to work with 500 Fortune 500 companies like General Mills. It's an FMCG company. Novartis, it's a pharmaceutical giant. Alcon, it's a med device company manufacturing contact lenses and surgical devices. And very recently, I'm working with Moderna. I think Moderna doesn't need any introduction, but just for everyone's awareness, it's a leading COVID vaccine manufacturer in US. I'm currently based in Boston, Massachusetts, in US. So with this, so this is a short bio about me. Uh, are you guys with me until now?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, Mr. Raj.
Yes, sir.
yes,
Of course, Raj.
Sure, of course.
Fine now.
Of course.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. I like the energy. All right. So moving on to the actual topic. So disruptive change. Before I go to the actual topic, do you guys remember since how long we have been hearing about disruptive change? If I could go back in time, it is the talk of the town since January 2020, but in reality it has been around for last 3 decades. But the only difference, is that in this digital age the disruption is happening so frequently, which is giving organizations very less time to manage the change. In fact, in recent time, the disruptive change in business has increased so exponential that organizations are now feeling they are constantly undergoing changes. And this has brought a new culture change, which is like change is not meant for coping but to thrive. And with this thought, I would like to ask a question, which is on the next slide. What is disruptive change according to you guys? Anyone? No question, no answer is right or wrong. Anyone would like to chime in? No pressure.
Everything is online.
Yes.
We cannot meet people directly. So like now in the class, we do online.
Yeah. Changing the way we do things.
Sir.
Changing the way we do things. Right?
It's a sudden happen.
Correct. Yes, exactly. So in plain English, if I have to define what is disruptive change occurs because of innovation in industry, change in company structure, or transformation in business model. This fundamental change disrupt the way an organization conduct business. This is the easiest definition that I could find for disruptive change. Uh, if I have to explain this with an example, let's talk about some of the disruptive change business examples. Streaming services. I'm sure everyone must be aware of the streaming services. Let's go back in time. If when I was a kid or when I was young, if I had to watch a movie, the only option that I had was to watch it on cable TV or either on going to a theater. But Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO are among the services that are in the process of creating a disruption in the entertainment industry. They have changed the whole viewing experience and how the audience consumes media. This is one sector that I consider it as a disruptive change. Next, another good example would be video chatting platform. If you guys remember in past when we were young, the only medium that we had to talk, if we had to connect, was the audio call over the phone. And very privileged one had the opportunity to connect over the video. And Skype was one of the earliest video chatting platform available, so that was a disruptive change. And now with Google Teams and Zoom becoming popular, are setting the perfect example of business disruptions. And in fact, with the pandemic, video chatting platforms have more users than ever. So this is another good example of disruptive change. Third, which is very favorite of mine, is transportation industry. Can anyone provide me an example of transportation industry disruptive change?
Uber.
Uber.
Perfect. Very
Online
good.
taxi.
Very good.
Like Gojek in Indonesia.
Aggregators. Yes, that is correct. That's very good answer. So Uber has completely changed the transportation industry. In fact, it is saving time, money, and environment. Because of this disruptive change, automakers are completely going to get disrupted, because now with Uber, Lyft, or any other aggregator service, owning one or two cars per family won't be necessary anymore. So these are some of the good examples of um, a disruptive change that I wanted to give, just so that we know what we are talking about. And if you see all the disruptive changes that I just spoke about, there's one thing common in all of them. Can anyone help me with that? What is common? It
IoT.
is, yes, it is fueled by the technological innovation. Everything that you see that is transitioning from traditional to the modern form of business, it is fueled by technological innovation. And in fact, with with the current scenario, with the digital era, it has become a norm, and business should be familiar with it. Like, disruption will happen, and if we are not able to manage the disruption, unexpected change, that could push you out of the business. And if this is not an exaggeration, if the pandemic has taught us anything, it is that if you won't change now, the change will push you out of business forever. So this is really a high time. I think someone is. Can you guys put on mute? Yeah, all right. So as I said, change is constant, and if we are not agile or flexible towards the change, the change will push the business out of business forever. So with this background about what is disruptive change, I would like to provide some fundamental of how do we cope with this. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Raj.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear
Clearly,
you.
clearly.
Clearly.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So
Yes, sir.
with the disruptive change example, now I would like to provide some basic definition of how do we cope with disruptive change. Well, there is no one fit for all. Every industry has a different way of coping with the change. And the reason of this slide is, like, I wanted to provide a fundamental of disruptive change. What is disruptive change? How can we cope with it? So in my opinion, there are four ways that we can, any industry, any company can cope with a disruptive change. That is, like, recognize any early warning signs, communicate regularly, train as you change the way you analyze data. So this four quadrant, if every company has a team, or if they capture it correctly, I'm sure they would be able to cope with the disruptive change in a much better way, rather than just jumping onto change as it comes. I would like to provide few pointers about each section, starting with recognize early warning signs. So at times you might be a leader in your industry. It is important, however, it is important to know what your competition is doing. You may find certain practices followed by your competitors that's completely irrelevant. That is still fine, but doing so could be a game changer, because analyzing your competitor's business model or approach is necessary to find any advantages that they might have on you, and it will help you to mitigate, or rather get an advantage over your competitor. So recognizing early warning signs in terms of one of the example is like analyzing what your competitor is doing. So that's one of the way. Second is communicate regularly. This, in my opinion, communication is very important aspect, irrespective of team or company, everywhere. It's very important. Crisp, concise communication is the key to success to anything. And it won't be an exaggeration if I have to say, communication can make or break your business, whether it is with your employees, customers. Effective communication is needed to stay on the same page. Next, train as you change. As you can understand from the name itself, training while you're changing. So this is very self-explanatory, but still I would explain. We might be able to, companies might be able to manage the change, map the change, handle the disruption for a while. But we do not if we do not have a tool to sustain it, like if we do not have a tool to train our employees to manage that change for a long time, we won't be able to sustain it. So we need to come every companies need to come up with some kind of in-house training tool that can train the employees on the job as they work. And it should be in such a way that it should be real time, helping the employees to learn it as quickly as possible and implement at the same time. And one thing that I always say, training should be along the process change. When it's happening, it should go hand in hand. Training after the implementation of change is not a wise choice because it will not give you the desired result. With this, next, the change the way you analyze the data. So analytics is something that everyone must be aware of. It's in discussion for a long time, and anytime a disruption is happening, all the companies usually analyze the data to identify what caused the change. Based on that, they take necessary actions. They wait for the result, identify the result. If it's negative, they do their analysis. Nothing wrong in it. However, as I said, the disruptive change is happening so fast, everything is so online. If this with this process of doing analysis in a sequential manner, it can delay the transformation process. So as a professional, we should always think of something whenever we are doing the analysis, how we can track the changes real time and how can we pass that feedback loop to the process while it is being implemented. So we need to come up with a way of analyzing data in a real time manner, that is real time data. At the same time, the feedback loop is being made. This is very important. This does not sound this sounds like, okay, why it is so critical, because this is like learning from the mistakes and at the same time using that learning from the mistakes to fuel the process to make it better. So these are the four ways that companies can help to cope with the disruptive change. Mohit, if you can click, the slides will talk about what I just spoke for each and every pointers. So this is my thought about disruptive change and how we can cope with any disruptive change. Moving on to the next slide, it is about the disruption in the pharma industry. What are the technological and innovation management in the pharma industry? So what we spoke, it is the in general disruption and how we can cope with the disruption in a fundamental manner. Now let's talk about the pharma industry. If I have to talk about pharma industry, the top technological trends in pharma, let's start with artificial intelligence. And I think AI is no brainer. Like everyone must have heard about this name, and it is true. It is also being used in pharma world, like very actively. All the pharma companies that are in existence, they are actively developing capabilities to use artificial intelligence technologies in some or the other way. One of the example is to analyze data patterns to understand the implications, benefits, or success rate of any new drugs before launching them into the market. And companies are extensively developing in-house AI teams to have an edge over the competitors. So this is still an upcoming technology in pharmaceutical, but all the big giants who are the players in the industry, pharma industry, they are actively working on this front, like developing an AI team. So in the coming years, in my opinion, this is going to be a big disruptor in the pharma industry. So from this big group of people who are into the interested in artificial intelligence, keep working on it. This is going to be the talk of the town in next 5 years, and that there is definitely going to be a lot of demand and there would be a lot of people coming, looking out for people with knowledge in artificial intelligence. And not only in the technical front, if someone is looking, like for example, I'm a project manager, so there are roles where you don't need to know a lot of things in technical, but and having a knowledge of how it works will be definitely helpful for getting a role like project manager, product manager. So I would strongly encourage to keep yourself updated with artificial intelligence, what's going on in the market. Next is bioprinting. So before we go to bioprinting, let me talk about, like, as you all must be aware, pharma industry is highly regulated industry. And when I say highly regulated, which means for any pharma product to be launched in the market, a proper clinical study needs to be performed. And as I said, this being a regulated industry, any kind of clinical study comes with a cost, and this is still a significant challenge in the pharma industry. Traditionally, any company, whenever they had to do any clinical study, they used to have a live subject to measure a drug efficacy and safety during the clinical trials, because they did not had any other option. But due to bioprinting, that's about to change. So bioprinting is a very interesting technology in my opinion. Like, let's discuss like how it is going to impact the pharma industry. So but think about bioprinting is nothing but a 3D printing like techniques to create imitations of actual human tissues and organs. It also combines cells and biomaterials to form a mesh like structure. The reason to do this is like these 3D printed organs that have been created can be used to replace live human organs during the clinical trials. So that, and they react the same way a human body does to new drugs and substance. So this is definitely a biggest technological innovation and still upcoming. But with this kind of technology, this is definitely going to drive down the cost associated with clinical trials, research and development, and at the same time reducing time required to approve new medication. Just for everyone's awareness, in pharma industry, whenever we get a product, it's not that we started manufacturing and selling the product. There is always a background work, R&D work happening in background. Scientists are working for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years before the product sees the light of the day. And at times, it might be possible that some of the product do not even come to the market because that is not getting the desired result as it was intended for. So with this technology, we can definitely sustain the cost, try to get the product into the market as soon as possible. So a very, very groundbreaking technology. Next is wearable tech integration. So this is something, I'm sure everyone must have already used in their day-to-day life. I would say this technology, as this technology allows pharma company to do more than just manufacturing, marketing, or selling drugs. In fact, it gives patients great power to manage their conditions and make critical decisions. If I have to give an example, let's take example of remote patient monitoring device to track glucose and blood pressure metrics that keep a tab on chronic condition like asthma, diabetes. And in this, I would share my personal example of a glucose measuring device. It's a very small device. You will just see like it is this small. You can stick to the arm, and with this device, patient can just log in, complete the simple task, which allows them to keep a track of their glucose level throughout the day. The approach is simple, unique, very practical and effective, and offering a very better experience to patients than simply waiting around for answers. So with this, you are in control of your glucose level throughout the day. You scan that device, you would be able to see what's your glucose level now. If you go back in time, you had to go to the a lab or get the blood work done, get the blood results next day. So there was a lot of lag or delay in the results. But with this technology coming into place, this is definitely a game changer. You are able to control, keep a tab on glucose level. In fact, doctors also have access to the results. So it's a real time, any decision, critical decision that they want to take, they can certainly take within the time. So this is definitely great technology. Next is precision medicine. um, this is fairly a new concept. I'm not sure if a lot of people must have heard about it. It is a new approach on how we diagnose, treat, and prevent any disease. In fact, This technology uses genes, human genes, and lifestyle to help doctor make accurate data-backed decision. This is still in implementation phase, but when it is fully implemented, it will completely change the way oncology treatment is being done now, making it possible to provide personalized treatment for every patient. As you all know, in oncology, you have radiotherapy, chemotherapy, which is very harmful. It does get the desired results, but it does have a lot of side effects. But with this precision medicine, that is going to reduce the effect, and maybe we would be able to get some desired effect. But this technology is still in the implementation phase, and if we have to get implemented, fully implemented, this will require an overhaul of existing infrastructure, like regulatory structure, clinical, economical, technical structure. So if we have all this structure in place, doctors can administer the right therapy to the right patient at the right time. So this is where once this technology is being implemented, product managers, product engineers would come into picture to help them implement the new infrastructure required for implementation of this new medicine in pharma industry. Next is mRNA technique, very favorite of mine. And I think everyone must be aware of it. It is the latest technology that's being widely used in the pandemic phase to develop vaccine. And even Moderna, Pfizer, they are developing the vaccine using the mRNA technique. If I have to say, mRNA as a medicine is a fundamentally different approach than treating diseases with other traditional drugs. In simple language, what mRNA does is a set of instruction by which cells makes all protein and sends them to various parts of the body. That's the simple language definition. mRNA, what it does is uses the existing normal biological processes to express the protein and create a desired therapeutic effect. And in fact, I would say mRNA has the potential to transform how medicines are discovered, developed, and manufactured at a breadth, speed, and scale not common in pharma industry. So this is definitely a technology that being used in last 2 years, but I'm sure there is a lot more to come, and it has a lot of potential to this technology. And these are the 5 technology or 6 technological trends that I have listed, but it's not that these are the final ones, or there are no others, but there are definitely many others getting evolved. So keep yourself updated with all these technological trends in the pharma industry. Pharma industry is one industry that's always going to be evergreen. So it's always in your favor to keep upgraded yourself with these technologies. With this, I also want to share my thoughts about how we can share my thoughts that you guys can use to advance your careers. It's in the next slide. If we can go to the next slide, Mohit. Mohit, Mohit, are you still
Go ahead,
sharing
Raj.
your
Yes,
screen?
yes. Yep, I am.
I cannot see your screen.
Are you still seeing the last screen?
No, I'm not seeing the last screen.
Okay. Professor, can you confirm if you're seeing the?
I can see the graph coming from bottom to.
Okay, perfect.
Yep,
So
the professional growth strategy.
Yeah,
yep.
that's right.
All right, so I think I still have 3 minutes left before I hand it over to Mohit. So I would like to share, this is something from my personal experience that I always tell to students, uh, this is something that 5 pointers that I used in my personal career to achieve where I am now, like embracing your network. For example, building, nurturing, maintaining your professional network can definitely have a tremendous impact in helping you and finding a new job, or moving up in your current organization. If you're unsure about what is the power of networking, I would say Google some statistics. It is more than 80 to 85% of job that gets filled because of the networking. So I would highly encourage all the professionals in this group to go ahead and embrace your network, reach out to many people, talk to them, understand, and that can definitely help you to reach your professional goals. And not only professional goals, it will also help you to keep yourself updated with the latest trends. Second is finding a mentor. This is this is generally ignored, but from my personal experience, I would say mentoring has played a critical role in my career development. Even among non-executives, mentoring is often cited as one of the surest way for an individual to learn new skills, transition into a new role, or advance their career. So finding a right mentor is very important. It can be a professor when you are in the school, when you're in a working profession. It can be your manager or your cross-functional manager. So whoever you feel comfortable and you feel consider them as an idol, find a mentor that will help you to get an exposure from their experience as well. Third is master your industry. So there are some industries where you're expected to know very specialized knowledge and skills than the other industry. So if you're working in those specialized industry, I would say learn in depth about those industry. That will help you to communicate very well about your industry issues that they are facing, and also demonstrate your capability. Fourth one is furthering your education. I think, as I said in my start, we should always keep ourselves updated. We should always keep in uh, whatever the goal is, whether we want to achieve a new career at the current organization, transition to a new role. Furthering your education is one strategy that can help you get there. So it is also one structured path that can help you learn the skills you need to learn for the success. Last is taking performance reviews seriously. So this is for the people who are going to work and not for the entrepreneurs, but people who are going to work in the professional environment. You have a performance reviews happening mid-year and annual review. Take that very seriously. If it is done in a proper manner, it's an incredible tool for both employers and employees. In fact, performance reviews are excellent way for employers to tell employees if they're meeting expectations, if they're falling short of anything. This is a practice that benefits both parties, and employees can let employers know what their goal is and make use of employers facilities to help reach that professional goals. So sorry I had to rush in the last, but this is something that I think I followed it very diligently in my life to achieve where I am. And I hope this is helpful to you guys as well. So with that, I think I'm 1 minute past what I have been allocated. And we definitely have a Q&A session in the last, and I would be happy to answer any questions. I will hand it over to Mohit now to take it over the presentation from here on. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Raj.
Thank you, Mr. Raj.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Raj.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raj.
Thank you, Mr. Raj.
Hello. Hi. Just allow me 1 minute and I'll go ahead and open my presentation. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Yes.
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 We are here.
Yes, Mohit, I hear you.
Very good. Wow, that's a lot of students, and I guess everybody is excited to be. I guess I heard a few of you are new students to the university, so I'm sure you guys are very excited to start your own journey. And yes, anybody from industrial engineering? Okay, I'll take the silence as a no. Oh, there you go. One of you raise your hands. Can you see my screen actually?
Yes, you can.
Yes, it's already on the screen.
We can.
Great. Okay. Awesome. So Raj and I, we studied at the same university doing our masters in the US, and we both come from India. Currently I'm working as a senior continuous improvement engineer at a company called as Ryder Supply Chain Services. Now, a lot of times in the US, you see the trucks which have Ryder name on it. So that's one vertical of our company, which is the logistics transportation vertical. At the same time, I work for the supply chain services industry. Now, what we do is basically we do warehousing for different clients, right? Before I go into all of the technical details, this is where I live. Just a fun presentation, quick introduction about me. I live in Indianapolis. It's a city in the state of Indiana. And this is one of the pictures from probably October. and it's a beautiful city. They have a beautiful town view, and then just they have a canal flowing through the city. And I've been traveling across the Midwest and the east of the US to do my job. It involves a lot of traveling right now, and I'll tell you why. Quickly talking about my education history. So in India, you have a schooling, which is up to 10th standard, right? Which goes up to 13 years. And then you have your senior college, which is 11th and the 12th. So we call it the 12th standard. After which you enroll yourself into a 4 years engineering degree course. And then I did my master's for 2 years in the US, right? So there you go, just pretty much I've spent my 22 years in India and then 2 years doing my master's in the US. And I've been working in the US for the last close to 3.5 to 4 years now. So during my master's, what did I do? So I started my master's in January of 2017. I hope you guys are seeing the screen, right? Can you see my master's timeline?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
So during my master's, I started in January of 2017, and until May of 2018, I did my 3 semesters, just as every student goes through. May of 2018 to August of 2018, I did my first internship as a continuous improvement intern. Now, the one important aspect here to note is whichever field you are studying into, the first internship which you get into in your career will really shape your career in the future, right? So if I started with a continuous improvement intern, I would eventually land up in the similar field or domain in the future, just because it's a little difficult to absolutely change your career and go into something else like designing or something, right? So once I accepted this role, I knew that I was getting into a field where I would have to spend pretty much my rest of the internships or rest of my professional experience, right? Absolutely, you can always change, do a different degree course and absolutely go ahead and change your career as and when you get an opportunity. And I'll tell you how my career has shaped. I graduated from, did my final semester from August of 2018 to December of 2018, and I graduated in December. And that was pretty much my master's timeline, right? So my first professional job I took up was in a company called as Foot Locker. Now, I'm sure everybody is excited wearing new sneakers, new shoes, and that's what my ex-company used to do, and they still do, right? It's a Fortune 500 company, $8 billion in revenue every year, and they have multiple stores across North America, Europe, and US. I'm sure North America and Europe and Singapore. If you have been to Singapore, you might have seen one of those stores called as Foot Locker. What we basically do is we get shoes from Nike, Adidas, Puma, get it into our stores and retail it to the customers. All right. So definitely, if you work in the US anytime in the future, and if you're a big sneaker head or sneaker fan, go ahead and apply to Foot Locker. You'll get a lot of free shoes. Just kidding. So on the other side, right, what Foot Locker gave me is exposure into a 1 million square feet facility where I was doing process improvement projects and different kind of projects, data analysis projects, everything. So as an industrial engineer, you are subjected to multiple projects and challenges at the same time. When you talk about just improving a process, right from time studies all the way giving ideas and suggestions how you can improve the process, right away to implementing that process along with the operations team. So that's basically a small life cycle of that process, right? I'd worked there from September of 2019 to November of 2021. And just a quick question here for the students. Does anybody know what's the difference between a warehouse versus a distribution center? And I'll wait for responses.
Warehouse is identical with the building.
Okay. And what's about the distribution center?
And the distribution center, I think it's more about like supply chain hub. Can be without buildings, can be by system, can be driven by system.
Okay.
But yeah.
Sure. So warehouse definitely needs a system, right? I mean, you have things coming in the building and then it goes into storage, right? To do this, you need a WMS. What do you call it as? A warehouse management system, right? You definitely need that. So it's not a systematic difference. I'll wait for one more response and then otherwise I'll give away the definition. Anybody wants to try it? Go ahead.
The rest is about the store. The distribution center is most likely is not just talking about the store the product. We manage our incoming, inbound process, and then the outbound process to our clients.
Okay, your audio was not very clear, but let me try and make sense of what you said. Eventually, what the basic difference, is that warehouse is used for storing products, right? You store products, and that's basically it. Now, what's a distribution center is it actually stores product, but at the same time, it also offers product mixing, packaging, cross-docking, right? Now, that's basically what a distribution center does, which is why a distribution center is usually bigger than a warehouse, and you have more people working on the processes of getting a product in, packaging it, repackaging it, opening it, mixing it with different SKUs, and then sending it out to the customers or the stores, right? So, which is why a distribution center is usually bigger in size, and they have more complex processes inside them. Just like you see in that picture, you have multiple overhead conveyor lines. It's just going into each other. You can see some boxes lying around, right? So that's basically a floor. That's how my floor used to look, right? And my office was very close by, and these lines usually were dedicated to different processes. One was direct to consumer, one was direct to retail, etc. So basically, a distribution center really offers you a lot of exposure, only rather than a warehouse. So warehouse is basically product comes in, goes into storage, comes out as it is, right? So that was the basic difference. But thank you for the responses. So as you guys see in the picture, you have racks. You have racks based on heights, and then you have somebody coming inside the racks, picking products and taking it away. At this point, when you see every rack is designated with a label, which is used to scan the location, destination, quantity, or just the details of the location, and somebody will come up, pick a box, pick the units, take what they want, and just take it away, right? In this picture, particularly, you see a manually person is doing that. And if you go in Amazon warehouses, you'll see a robot. So can you guys see that small robot over there with 2 eyes? At the very end, I'll actually go into a different picture and zoom it over there, right? So this is basically how a warehouse looks, and a distribution center, whatever you want to call it, right? Basically, the image is the same. A very, very common layout, how a receiving dock or a shipping dock looks like is like this, right? Things come in on pallets, things come in boxes, things come shrink wrapped, and then people have MHEs. Now, these machines are called as material handling equipments. People will come up, pick up the pallets, putting on a staging lane. So wherever it is staged or kept, these things are called as staging lanes, right? Now they'll keep it here, they'll decide what to do with those products, and they'll take it to storage. There you go. So if you see this robot, this is usually what a typical scene looks like in an Amazon warehouse. Now, Amazon warehouse is a highly, highly automated warehouse where they have multiple robots picking products and taking it to the packaging team. You need that just because the number of different SKUs they have. Now, you can order cap, or you can order a book, or you can order a pen, and you can order a mask or a watch, right? So they need to have such kind of storage where they can keep these products in certain quantities at specific locations based on the demand of those quantities. Now, as soon as you place a demand on your phone or a laptop, the robot is going to go to that location, pick up that particular product, and take it to the packaging team. So the robots are very efficient in doing that. So robots for ASRS, automated storage and retrieval system, as well as you have put away and pick machines, which are like these, the manual ones, where a person will stand and drive it to the locations, right? I'll talk about a project which I'm currently doing at Ryder Supply Chain Services, and I'll not reveal the name of the company which we are actually talking to get a new technology. So what we're doing is we're trying to get a camera/sensor system for these machines which are manually driven. Now, just because these robots are extremely expensive, it's not always possible for a company to get these robots for warehouses. Also, at the same time, you'll have to design your racks as per the requirements of the robots, because then they will have to perform inside those racks doing the put away and the picking process. So which is why there's alternative method where you can actually make your machine smarter by having a set of cameras and sensors on your machines which actually do the put away, like a pallet truck or a reach truck. What it is going to do is basically it is going to sense every single activity your person does into any location inside the warehouse / DC, and it's going to give you a data based on how many locations were visited today, what's the heat map of that location, and based on heat map, you guys can absolutely go ahead and do some slotting. Now I'll wait here and wait for responses if anybody knows what slotting is and why is it important. Anyone?
Sorry, pardon me, Mohit. Your question about slotting?
Yes, I'm asking about slotting. Yes.
I know the slotting is how can we mapping the product into the area or the location for each product, and then we put into we can do the slotting by maybe doing the same product, same characteristic, and then the quantity of the area, also the space of the area, and also maybe can from the fast moving, slow moving. That's why it's mean that the goal is to make the process of inbound and outbound can be faster to do in one step.
Absolutely. Yes, that is correct. That's the very correct answer. You can actually slot your warehouse based on the characteristic of the product, and you can make sure that, so let's just say if you're suddenly, it's the summer season, right? Everybody wants to order whatever products you like to drink in the summer, or let's just say if it's the school season, you guys would like to order notebooks or books. Suddenly Amazon knows, and their AI knows, and AI, I'm sure Raj talked about it a lot. The AI of Amazon knows that the season back to school is going to come very soon. Hence, it is important that we slot our stationery items in such a way that we are very efficient while we pick those products, which is why the slotting is such a dynamic activity that inside a distribution center, you will have racks specified to items which are high velocity items. Now, high velocity items is highly demanded items according to the season, right? Which is why back to school season subjected to high demand of stationery items will come at a place where people and the robots can access it very easily, which is why slotting becomes even more important, because your units per hour KPI goes up, your efficiency goes up, and at the end of the day, you want more products going out of the door in minimum time investment. All right, we still have 15 minutes, so very good, we are on track. So as I said, robots are very efficient. They connect to the WMS, which is the warehouse management system of the company, and they can give you live data. So currently we are actually doing some sensor robotic, some camera technology on the current MHEs we have in the building, which will give us a heat map. At the same time, it will give us data. It will increase our data accuracy by giving us exact information about what we really want to do with the items which are not being used. We can actually consolidate them, keep them on a different zone so that they don't use our storage space a lot. At the same time, the demands for the items which are higher, we can slot them particularly so that they are closer by to the shipping dock, where we don't have to use a lot of transportation. So if there are 7 wastes in lean, and we would like to eliminate every waste possible in the building. So yeah, there you go. Quick example how a robot is efficient. So in this particular image or the slide, I'm going to give you a difference that if you drive a material handling equipment like a pallet truck or a reach truck inside a distribution center, you're absolutely going to make a lot of use of space, but you'll only give lesser space to your storage racks, because then you'll have to keep space between 2 racks for your machine to drive in and out. In this particular example, you see they were able to make 672 slots by using 7 forklifts in that similar space. Instead of that, now I use robots and only 1 forklift, and I was able to make 2,880 slots. 1 slot can absolutely hold whatever you want, right? It can hold 100 pens, it can hold 100 caps, it can hold 1 vacuum cleaner, anything else, right? So by use of robots inside a warehouse, and trust me, it's a very high investment process, but it will also give you good return on investment once it's implemented. And if you get a chance, do visit the Amazon warehouse wherever it's possible, accessible. If not, whenever, if you guys in the future come to the US, absolutely go ahead and try and access it. An Amazon warehouse is a typical example of how they make use of their space in such a way that they can absolutely store maximum number of units in it, right? So just like the example here, it was taken from one of the Voodoo robotics companies who do robotics for warehouses. And the difference is right there, right? I mean, you can absolutely do closer to 3 times those 3 times slots by using robots. Now, what it does is basically, height limitation. You can get rid of that by using robots, because then your people can travel to a certain height, but your robots can travel absolutely to a bigger height than that. Your accuracy increases, your slotting becomes easier, increased efficiency and inventory accuracy, right? Okay, awesome. I'm very close to the very last few slides. I usually on my weekends, I do YouTube, and it's been a very long time since I've done a video. I actually have started this way back in 2019. What I do is basically I get in touch with people who are working in the US in different companies. So I have a person working in Tesla, Apple, Premier Nutrition. These are the first 3 interviews I did. And you can absolutely go and check it out. That's the name of my channel. And, you can hear those thoughts of how these people came from an engineering college, just like you guys did their masters and then got a job into Tesla and Apple, right? And I'm sure very much everybody's excited to work with these big giant companies. And please go ahead and try listening to their thoughts and, get some advice in your career. So yeah, this is just a quick YouTube channel review. This is one of my Instagram pages, which I do. So I have a few live sessions. Definitely go ahead and check out the English interviews I do. So even in the similar case, this has been left out for a while because I just recently, as I said, joined a new company, and which is why it has made me a lot busy with my new stuff. So, but yeah, I have people working in Amazon and people working in different companies, and I've had their interviews done and spoken to them in multiple live sessions. So please do go ahead and check it out, and you will absolutely love it, and you'll absolutely love their thoughts. Having said that, I think it's 7:21, and pretty much that's basically what I have. And yep, that's almost what I had. And at this time, what I'll do is I'll see if Raj can unmute and we can take the questions. But Professor, I hope you liked it. And if you have any questions, or any of your colleagues have any questions, we can absolutely take it.
Okay, thank you, Mohit and Raj. That was a great sharing from both of you. And we have a lot of questions written in the chat.
Okay, all right. I'll go ahead and open the chat.
Now, my difficult task to pick which one out of those, but there are also few hand raising. I think I would like to start with somebody who would like to ask question directly rather than me reading the question. That would be more lively, I suppose. And I think as there are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 hand raising right now. And let me start with the lady first. Okay, Ibu Cornelia, would you like to start first?
Thank you, Prof. I have 2 questions, each for Mr. Mohit, and then for Mr. Mohit, I would like to pick your brain about the logistic and supply chain management and the less big scale, because my background is to work for remote locations where we try to deliver simple technologies to people in the remote locations. How do you think that the industry in that working in the sector can improve significantly, because logistically it's so difficult? And then to Mr. Raj, I would like to ask, is there any suggestions to get performance review when you're working independently? Because some clients are okay or open about this, and then actually many of the clients are not open to like, hey, can you give me some performance review? Thank you.
Awesome. Very specific questions, and I'm sure it was a great question. So basically, from what I understand, you asked me is you have, according to the changing pandemic scenario and currently in the supply chain industry, where you have things getting delivered to a remote location. Did you mean that you have a warehouse shipping products to an individual customer at a specific location? So I'm just trying to make sense of what you exactly asked, rather than answering in the wrong way.
Yes, exactly. So in the remote locations, we only have like one warehouse.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep. Makes sense. So definitely. So it's yep. It's a challenge of when you talk about remote accessibility to things. So warehouses, if you typically see, even in the US, it's a very common scenario that a warehouse is located in a remote location. Number one reason, land is very expensive to get in bigger cities, and at a very very posh location. Number two, at the same time, you want your transportation carriers to have access to your trucking yard, which again takes up a lot of space, except other than the warehouse, because it's not just the warehouse. You have trucks coming in and out, right? So you need space for those parking lots and everything else. So which is why a land piece, which is significantly bigger, is required to design a warehouse, which is why you will find it in a remote location. So even in the US, even my ex-company was located at a location which had nothing other than farming lands around it. So usually companies will have an area designated where they'll get cheaper land, easy access to labor, and better facilities for the trucks to come in and out, so that they can easily get their products outside the building. At the same time, what it does is it creates a challenge of hiring people. So if you see, there's a big trend in the US, if you follow Twitter or any social media platform, it's called as the big quit. There was a Bloomberg article written a few weeks ago. It was called as the big quit. What it is basically people are resigning from their jobs a lot in the US, which is why you have a labor shortage in the market. Now, why are they resigning? Because if in the US, there are multiple benefits. Even if you resign a job, you'll get the money from the government, right? It's not applicable to me or people like me who are studying on visas and working on visas, but it's usually for the US citizens. So people who weren't enjoying their jobs as much, or who actually did not want to go back after the pandemic, they just quit their job, but they still keep getting those incentive money, which is called as the unemployment money from the government, and it just keeps them going, right? So I guess at this point, there is a high demand for labor and a high demand for people working in the warehouses, and people are ready to offer, $25 an hour, $20 an hour to these associates to work with us, and which is why that's another challenge which the pandemic has brought in. So yeah, I think pretty much that's one of the two things which I can remember. Sure,
Mohit, great explanation. And to add on to Mohit's point, the way the warehousing structure is now working is like we are having a big distribution center, maybe in the outskirts of the city. As Mohit mentioned, the reason due to various cost, space availability, and the other way that Amazon, which is leader in all this segment, what they're doing is within the city they are developing small fulfillment centers, which is used as an hub and spoke model, where they have a big distribution center where they're storing everything, and then they have a small hub within the city where it is being that is one spot to store the product, and then they have last mile delivery system. So it's integrated system. It is not just a distribution center created in the outskirts of the city. When they do that, they also develop integrated system, downstream system that is required, like having a small distribution or fulfillment center within the city, developing a road network of truck drivers. So that's how it gets managed. It's not just one thing. It is an integrated system that is used in the efficient supply chain. So I just wanted to add on to Mohit's point, but great explanation,
right.
Mohit.
And Raj, there was a question for you as well. Sorry, I'll let you go ahead and ask the question again for Raj.
Yeah, I think it was performance review, right? Yeah.
Yes. So that's a great question. I think if I heard correctly, your question was like if the client is not willing to give a feedback on the performance review. Generally, the client, I don't know if client is the right person to give you the feedback. The proper channel of communication is the client will give the feedback to your employer, and then your employer will give you feedback. In that case, that would be one of the channels that you could establish while you're working, that you try to get a feedback from your employer. At the same time, as I said, when I spoke about the second point to achieve the success is finding a mentor. So when I said mentor, it is definitely not specific to your manager. You can always find a mentor in the client company who can also give you feedback as you grow, as you do your job. That can help you understand like how you're doing. Is there anything else that you need to do? So that is one of the channel avenues that you can open up in terms of performance avenue. I hope that makes sense. Is that something that you were asking?
Yes, thank you so much, both of you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. All right, okay. Now let's go to Leonardo.
Okay, good evening from Mohit also. Okay, I have some question here, but before that, I will introduce myself. Actually, I'm a student from the Magister Management Industrial, and also I'm an employee from the Honeywell Aerospace in Penang, Malaysia, as a senior engineer. And then I have a question regarding from the robotic and also AI, artificial intelligence. Right, because a few times we are already proposing for this project, but we having a problem regarding how to calculate from the ROI, return of investment, for this one. And then because as you know, right, we need to look at from the industrial perspective, because industrial will be looking about the money, how the money will be return back, maybe long term or maybe short term for this one. So this is my question: how the right formula we can propose from the ROI. The second one, like a project robotic, because as you know, right, from this project will be consume a lot of money to invest. And also, this is not only talking about the invest in the first time, but we also need to manage how to sustain, especially like a repairing, calibrating, and also like a preventive for this one. So this will become another cost, right, for this one. So how we can make it like this proposal, robotic AI, this is very good for us, but actually the cost is very big. So this is why how we can give the right proposal to management to convince them this is great to involve.
Beautiful yes, question.
Thank you.
I think it was very impressive that you're talking through your experience, and I think it really reflects from your question. So I'll try to answer from the ROI perspective first. So return on investment basically is as simple as what's your fixed cost, how much money is your technology going to save you if you divide your technology implementation in these parts. What is your current utilization, resource utilization money that you're investing to get that much product out, and what's your new projected savings out of it, right? So if you actually calculate all of that, you are easily, an ROI formula, you can absolutely get on Google, just put things together, but it's really important to actually evaluate your current state first. If you do not have your current state numbers based on how much money you need today, how many people you need today, and by implementing the new technology, how many head counts are you going to save? You can absolutely implement a robotic technology and have those people work in a different area, or have them go home, based on your company's policy. Now, this is what you need to evaluate first, and then you can absolutely come back to your manager saying that I think this technology is giving us this much output. This is the speed of its operation. This is our current speed of operation, and I think by comparing this, we are going to get rid of these many people, which is absolutely your direct savings. Number two, your technology can also help you gain efficiency by increasing your UPH, units per hour, of production, which is why then you compare your current numbers versus the output numbers, and if your demand is higher, you're actually achieving what your customer has asked for, right? You're giving out more numbers through a new technology, and by justifying the ROI, saying that our demand is going to increase, which is why we need a new technology. This is how much the new output is, and here's your ROI justification. So return on investment of 6 months or 1 year or 2 years doesn't really matter, as long as you are actually breaking even, you are gaining money out of that, and you are absolutely focused on delivering more by implementing that technology. You don't want to just make things easier and keep the same output. You want to make things easier, but at the same time, you want to increase your output. So that's my answer for, how do you approach ROI calculations? And sorry, I might have probably missed the second question. I exactly don't remember.
The second question, this is regarding from the additional cost. This is not counted from the first project, but also even we investing, especially from the robotic, right? We are need also to take care about the maintenance cost and also calibration, repairing. Even we don't have like the R&D department for this one. So how we can reduce for this one? Better we request the another R&D department, or maybe we can just using from the other third party to support us. But if having the third party also, this will be every time costly, you need to pay right to them for this one. So which one is better?
Sure. I think I'll just quickly answer that, because we have different questions too. Maintenance cost, or maintaining your technology, I think always your customer or your company should evaluate doing it in-house first, because outsourcing it can be efficient, can be easier, but at the same time it will cost you more money. If you can get those resources to have your maintenance done at a cheaper cost, absolutely, it all comes down to the amount of money you need to deliver results. And I'll say definitely evaluate based on resources in-house versus outsourcing it. I prefer having it in-house. I have seen in-house people do it, do maintenance technology, maintaining everything. Even those complex machines, everybody is able to do it if you train your people properly, rather than having it outsourced, because then you have on-site support every time, and then even if you fail, your line doesn't go down, your your warehouse distribution center doesn't stop. So I think that's what my answer would be for that. And if you want, if somebody else want to go ahead and ask the question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Baste.
Thank you. Good questions. Good questions.
Next, Bu Ratih.
Thank you, Professor. Hello, Mr. Mohit and Mr. Raj. So I want to ask about to Mr. Mohit first. So you told us about automatic robots in warehouse. So we can see that using auto robots like IS, LS is very good and giving a lot of advantage for the company. But if we are working in a third party logistic or service provider, we only provide the warehouse services, and we only have a short period contract with the producer. It's only 2 or 3 years. Is it really a good idea to use robots? I think it's very costly, and please tell us what if what kind of improvement you can give us if the warehouse is only traditional warehouse like block stack, because in Indonesia there are a lot of cities where there are often earthquake in the city, so we cannot build any high racking in the warehouse. So what kind of improvement we can suggest to the top management? That's my question to Mr. Mohit. And to Mr. Raj, I want to ask something. So you told us that in this era, it's very important to recognize the early sign of disruption, and getting feedback is very a good tool to us for us to improve our working. But as a employee, as a middle management level employee, what can we tell to the upper management level that we need to do change or to improve the working process? Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Fantastic. Mohit, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go?
No, I'll just quickly answer from my perspective. So
Okay.
if you are not talking about technology investment in a smaller warehouse, I think it's not a good idea to do investment in technology if you have a lesser contract or if you are subjected to high earthquake prone zones. Number two, you do not want to do that is because by the time you're break even, you lose your contract and your building is done. What do you do with the technology, right? Yeah. So at this point, what I would say is the most important improvement you can do in a smaller warehouse where you don't have much technology is training your people. Your people, well trained and well learned, are your biggest success for you, because then they will deliver your UPH and you will get your numbers out. If you don't have enough people, do a resource planning worksheet, plan your resources. Do you need more people? Hire more people, right? People absolutely don't mind coming in and working. Everybody needs work. You can absolutely do that. Number two is having your teams go through several KPI checklists. You need to have certain KPIs at your facility where you monitor each and every important KPI, which is important to your business, each and every day, every morning, every afternoon, every shift, whatever you want to do, right? You can set your frequency. So I think these are the first two things which come to my mind. And then of course you can apply your lean principles, CI principles, and keep your workspace clean. Make sure you don't have wastes which actually go into these productions. And I think that will set you up for success. Raj?
Okay,
All right. Thanks, Mohit. Thank you. I think that was a great explanation. So a question for me is, how do we mitigate and how do we recognize and how we implement the feedback within the loop? So let me give you an example. When e-commerce was at boom, all the brick and mortar store, they had two options: either to shut down the business or to get up and running, pull up their socks and get into the business. Some of them chose the latter, some of them chose the other option, saying that, okay, we will fight back. And one of the good example is Walmart. So what they did is like they invested a lot of things in the technologies. And what I would suggest, let's take example of global supply chain management. If you want to implement a feedback loop, what you can suggest to your management is like implementing a standard SNOP process, integrated business planning processes, because these processes have everyone in the loop from all different cross-functional functions. At the same time, marketing, manufacturing, they have everyone. With that, having a monthly cycle, the feedback loop is developed. This is not something a costly process. This is something with an existing resource within the company that can be implemented, and at the same time, feedback loop can be developed. And once you guys see how this feedback loop is developing, then there would be a chance of doing an investment to make it more advanced, like investing in IBP tools, integrated business planning tool. Integrated business planning tool, what it does is like, if there is sudden spike in demand, it will show back, reflect as a supply requirement to the manufacturing sites. So if we have a IBP tool with access to all the different team members, every team can put in the demand at the real time, and that can be reflected back to the manufacturing teams. So this is happening at the real time. Nobody is waiting for the monthly cycle. Instead, this IBP tool will be working as a feedback loop for all the cross-functional teams. So that will make it easy for all the company to be at same page rather than being silos.
Yeah, I think that was a great discussion. Yeah, right. Both the question and the answer were very, very inspiring. I think we have a couple more. I would like to invite Franciscus to ask you a question.
Thank you, Prof. Good evening, Mr. Mohit and also Mr. Raj. Let me introduce myself first, and I would like to thank you for your sharing, for great sharing today. I am Roni. I have two questions for both Mr. Mohit and also Mr. Raj. My first question belongs to Mr. Mohit. Okay. I have worked for the industry automotive, which work for many various products, as well known as the filter products such as air filter, oil filter. So we already know that there are so many products will or work on that company. But my question is it possible to implement also the robotic system for the warehouse for the companies that have so many various products? because I think that it's not impossible but possible, but it is hard for the company to implement that thing. So may you also advise us or advise that current companies, how is the most important thing to be noted or to be managed before going to implement the robotic system in the warehouse? And also my second questions to Mr. Raj is regarding the disruptive. As we all know that all about your sharing is about the technology, but I would like to ask about the disruptive that we are not able to control that, such as COVID, or also I am working now for the PT Astra Honda Motor, which is export motorcycle to many countries. And after COVID, we currently facing the situation which is port congestion or container shortage and etc. My question is, how the company manage this situation which is not controllable? Thank you.
Great question. So I think I'll jump onto this one. Well, pandemic is something, nobody, most companies have a change management or disaster management policy, something like that, whenever they have something, a severe, drastic change to the environment. But with this COVID, this is something doesn't happen so often. So this definitely has caught companies off guard, and lot of companies are in the react mode instead of, they did not had a chance to do anything proactively. So answer to your question, how companies are dealing with this kind of situation. So one of the challenges that companies faced is all of a sudden there was a sudden spike in the demand of the raw materials that were coming from the overseas, like coming from China or any Asian markets. So what companies started doing as a mitigation, they are bringing back a lot of manufacturing to US, local manufacturing the raw materials. That way, they can reduce this supply chain blockage, port congestion. So in that case, if you're bringing in something locally, you are not relying very much on the long supply chain, like cross-continent supply chain. That is one thing. Second thing that companies started implementing in these scenarios is like, how do we strategically place our manufacturing locations? So if there's any global company, they would make sure that they have manufacturing sites in Asia, Europe, US, at the same time in Japan or something near to that, so that every location is catering to that continent. So making sure that your sites are strategically located to make sure that you don't have to depend on cross-continent shipments in the global supply chain, because that if you use an ocean transportation, that's cost effective, but that's taking too long. As you guys have heard about a lot of congestion in the port, but if you go with the air shipment, that increases the cost. So what companies are doing is they did an analysis and they come up with, like, if it makes more sense to strategically locate the site and make sure that site is catering to the demand of that region. So that way companies are increasing the footprint strategically rather than just having the locations where they were originally set up. They are increasing their footprint to cater to the cross-functional, like across the world.
Okay, pardon Mr. Raj, but actually my question directly to how to manage the risk before we know that something happens in the future. I mean, so what you have explained is after the condition, after the effect, but my question is how we manage the risk before something happens in the future. So as I know that when it was 2022, we had no idea COVID would happen in 2029 and also so on. But I believe that many companies also has the risk management, but I have no idea how the company will manage the risk without any I mean some things that we could not predict or something else.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and there is not a certain answer. I would say that predicting a risk is doing like a demand planning. Nobody is accurate in that. We can do the prediction to a certain extent, but after that we would be relying on the nature, right? So in terms of how do we make sure that we predict the risk for the future? How do we mitigate those risks? I would say companies learn with an experience. Until COVID happened, nobody had imagined that we could have such a great disruption in supply chain, in manufacturing, or maybe altogether. Let's take an example of supply chain, work from home. Prior to COVID, did anyone thought of people would be working for such a long time, work from home? Companies started investing in developing their digital. They expanded their digital footprint. They make sure that servers are capable of making sure that employees can work remote. At the same time, business can run. If you go back in time, in past, the only way we could do the business was if you are available in office at site. But with this pandemic, we learned that, okay, we can do the business being remote as well. So this would be a learning that would be used in the future in case of any risk that is occurring in future. At the same time, this learnings will also be incorporated in the risk management procedures of the companies. But there is no better way of that you can predict all the risk and mitigate those risks. I am not aware of any company who is fully prepared to say that, okay, we are able to handle any kind of risk. It is a continuous development, continuous learning over the period of time. It keeps on happening. Companies keep on reviving as and when they get strategies, inputs from their group. Every company has a strategy group within their organization. So they keep on evaluating worst scenarios, and they incorporate all those feedbacks into a procedures, in risk management procedures. And that is certainly used whenever there is a pandemic like COVID occurring again.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Raj. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, Mohit, would you like to pick the first question? Was about product variety, I guess.
Manufacturing, right? Ron?
Pardon,
I cannot hear you clearly. Can you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, I think that's better now.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just answering one of the chat questions. So yeah, Ronnie, was it about manufacturing automobiles and use of technology or robotics in it? Correct?
Yes.
Right. So I've not been into automobile manufacturing specifically. I've been into manufacturing companies during my 2 internships, and what I've seen is a technology in manufacturing is only useful when you have a very standardized product. What do I mean by standardized product? Is your product is so much well designed in the market that it's not going to change even 0.1%. That's when a technology can be useful. But if you have a changing design of a car, if you have some new parts coming inside the car, I think manual application of those parts is more important that time, because your technology is adaptive to a certain way you code it. But once you change the design of the part, or you change some kind of application, I think your technology needs to retrain itself, and then you have to add additional resources. But certainly, I've been to Tesla factory in Fremont, and I've never seen a place like that. It's massively automated. You have the biggest punching machine in the world there, which actually punches those metal sheets into flat plates for the GC design of the car. I've never seen so much robotics into manufacturing. So Tesla was an example where I actually learned that how you can actually get more number of cars by using technology. And your people are definitely, they need people to fix the engines, right? Definitely they need to fix the seats of the car. But Tesla had that kind of...
I think we have a little bit problem with your...
sorry.
Yeah.
Audio?
The voice is intermittently...
Sorry, I am in my hotel and I'm not sure if my Wi-Fi is not functioning correctly. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now I think it works. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So yeah,
And Mohit, just we are on time, 2 minutes.
Absolutely,
about
yes.
So just...
I think Raj and me would definitely want to, just go ahead and start our working jobs. But yeah, I need to start by 8 o'clock. So yeah, I think, as I said, it's just a matter of evaluation, and I would suggest don't compare with Tesla, don't compare with any bigger automobile company, because every company is unique in its own way, and everybody has their own way to success. I think it's more important to evaluate if your company needs to change its business plan, if they need to expand into different markets, that's when you need to add more technology. And your product needs to be standardized. That's all. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohit.
Can you pick one more question, the last one? You have time, Raj and Mohit?
Or
if you can do it, yeah. I'll have to
all right.
quickly jump on. I can answer in the chat and then I'll drop off.
Medica, can you ask a quick question?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prof, for the opportunity. Mungkin just a quick question, Mr. Mohit and Mr. Raj. We know that everyone is changed, every company changing in this era pandemic, and also impact due to disruptive change. But some of that change has positive impact. Such create new innovation because there is a new demand for market. But example, nowadays we can easily find hand sanitizer. Before pandemic era in Indonesia, we are very difficult to find hand sanitizer in supermarket, I think. But in pandemic, every company produce that thing. But nowadays, because I'm in sales background and take supply chain management, some of that innovation product comes a slow moving product because everyone produce the same thing and also with the same innovation. But the company is not stopping that product because they said that this is in pandemic era. They said that, but we are in the field, in the sales, it's very difficult to distribute that product. My question is, when both of you think that when the industry should decide to stop the innovation or decide to continue that innovation, but everyone knows that that innovation still is related with this condition, such in pandemic condition.
Yeah, I think we got your question right. Okay.
Yes.
Raj, would you like to start?
Yeah. I think that's a very good question. Every product has a life cycle, inception, then its maturity, and then phase out product. So, as you said, sanitizer was the talk of the town when the pandemic came in. Everyone wanted to get into the industry and be part of the business. But the right time is like, just by having a right product is not the only thing that company has to do. If they want to invest, then they need to also have other teams develop at the same time, like marketing team. How well you're ensuring that your team product is getting marketed. If your product is not well marketed, sales team cannot sell the product. So if your company is insisting on continuing with that innovation, we need to make sure how is the company aligned on the marketing perspective, how they're making sure that how the product is well positioned with respect to their competitors in the market, in order to make sure that sales people are able to convince the end customer to buy it. So in that situation, there needs to be a proper strategy from the top level management to make sure that along with the innovation, they also have the downstream teams like marketing, sales aligned with their objectives. So as I said before, SNOP and IBP, this is a good platform where every team aligns, like what is our goal in terms of sales? This is my goal. If I have to achieve, the marketing has to make sure that they're positioning the product with respect to their competitor at an advantage so that we meet that goal. So you need to convince your company to make sure that how well positioned the product is. If the product is not well positioned in the market with respect to competitors, it is difficult to get an edge, and it will be difficult for you to sell the product, to have a sales. So I think that would be my take. And I think Professor Neumann, there was one question that was put in the chat first. I would really like to honor that question because he was the first person to ask that question. Please. So please. I don't want to disappoint him or her. It was on the oil and gas sector. So it is very difficult to predict like how it will be exactly, but I would say oil and gas sector, energy sector would be significantly different in next 20 years from now. If you see, most of the companies are pledging towards reducing the carbon footprint by 70%, 30%. So, and in US and in a lot of European countries, if you see, they are already switching towards electric cars. There's a huge push towards moving towards electrical cars. So I would not say that oil and gas sector would be completely gone by next 5 years or 10 years. It will still be in existence, but I would say the implementation will start with HIC, like high income countries, US, Europe, Canada, and all those countries where the implementation of electric cars would be at faster pace, but it would be definitely followed by low income countries and middle income countries in the next few years, rather next few decades, I would say 2050, by when that oil and energy sector would be in a way that we are moving towards more renewable section rather than having non-renewable energy sources. So that's my take on oil and energy. And my sincere apologies. I saw a lot of questions in chat. I really wanted to answer all of them, but due to time limitations, I'm not able to answer those questions, but I thought that oil and gas question should be answered because he was the first person to ask that question.
Yeah, thank you, Raj. All right. Mohit, you have anything to add?
Nothing to add. I think great conversation. I'm sure a lot of people have more questions, but I would certainly encourage to connect on LinkedIn and definitely ask us questions there. I have tried answering a lot of questions on the chat as well, as much as I can. But I do have my boss. He will reach out to me in a few minutes. So I definitely want to answer him as well. And all the best to your students. Best success, best wishes to you guys. I'm sure you are a bunch of very talented people, and you absolutely can do a lot more than us. And really thankful to you, Professor Newman, for inviting us. And I think I really want to just take this opportunity and thank your university, your students, for being absolutely attentive and asking the right questions. Thank you so much.
And
You're
thank
welcome.
you. And I would also like to conclude. Thank you very much for such a great opportunity, Professor Newman, and you guys were a great audience. One thing, a disclaimer: whatever opinions shared in this slides, in these presentations, are our personal opinion. We do not represent our company's opinion. Just a disclaimer to everyone, just to make sure that there is.
Yes, absolutely.
And in terms of, I would like to wish good luck to all the upcoming students, professionals. You are the next leader of the professional world, so I'm sure you would do great, and keep rocking. You are at the right place to further your education. So good luck for your future endeavors.
Okay, thank you very much, Raj and Mohit, for such a great conversation. I think we learn a lot. I'm sure students also enjoy your talk and your discussion with them. And there are a lot of messages, I believe. And I highlight two among them. The first one is that I think it is very important for you to find a mentor during your career progression. And the second one, it is very important to upgrade yourself to training, education, etc. So with that, I'm sure all of you have chosen the right decision to start doing your master or doctorate degree with us here. So good luck to everyone, to all the students, and also thank you once again to Raj and Mohit for sharing your thoughts, your ideas, and spending very valuable time with us. Thank you once again. And
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Normally people like to take pictures, so you can take pictures by yourself. So just do a print screen, and maybe it is a good idea to share your experience today and share with your social media, etc. So thank you very much, and bye-bye. Have a very nice evening and nice day for Mohit and Raj. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohit. Thank you, Mr. Raj.
Thank you very much.